Today on
Doomed!
It's movie night. That's right, we're all stuck inside, thanks to the coronavirus. So we might as well all sit back, relax, grab some popcorn, an ice cold beverage, and fire up that live stream. Because on this episode of Doomed with Matt Binder, Jared Holt of Right Wing Watch joins us, as we watch and provide commentary for the brand new viral QAnon film that's sweeping the nation, well, not the nation, the far right, out of shadows. Let me pull us up on the stream and let me pull up Jared. Here we go. Bloop, 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 bloop. Boom, boom. There we are. What's up,
hey,
Jared? How you doing?
How's it going, man?
It's going good. How about you?
Oh, good. It's always a good night when I get to come on Doomed.
Oh, well, thank you. How's everything going, all things considered? Because we were talking about before, the last time you came on this show, it was to talk about CPAC, about a week or two after CPAC, I believe, because I've been doing all these primary shows. Can you imagine there was a Democratic primary going on at some point this year? And you came in right smack dab during that. And you had already been in isolation because you went to CPAC.
Right. I had been in self-quarantine for like a week already because out of an abundance of caution, my workplace was like, well, it was here and we were there, so for the good of everybody else in the office, just stay home. So I think I'm on day like 40 or something of not really leaving the house.
Nice.
I feel like I'm just going in cycles between like thinking I'm going to lose my mind and feeling okay, and then being like, oh, actually, you know what? I'm glad I have this time to myself because I can like work on stuff and improve and get, all those chores done or whatever. But
learn some guitar based on those guitars sitting on the back wall in your.
Oh yeah. I can try to see if I can play along with the new Strokes album.
Because obviously, when you have two guitars on the wall like that, it's clearly just for decoration.
Right. Yeah. We hang them on the wall so we can look at them, but it's like art. You don't touch it. You don't play it.
Right. So I guess I'm letting the podcast audience now know that this episode is probably best watched live on the live stream, if that's too late, on YouTube when this is all over as a replay. I will try to make it okay for our audience who are just listening to the audio, but it might be difficult because tonight we're watching a movie. Jared, now I saw you wrote about this movie for Right Wing Watch, so before we get into it, can you cue it up for us? Give us a bit of a background, if you may.
Yeah, so I wrote about this. There's a piece on Right Wing Watch about it. I think it's called Out of Shadows, like QAnon has a viral hit. Something like that. This movie kind of, I don't know if there was like a GoFundMe or who exactly paid for this movie, but it's a very high production quality film that is not explicitly QAnon, but it drives home sort of the central like core tenet of QAnon, particularly the like pedophiles in Hollywood thing.
Right.
So Pizzagate comes up in it. People like Liz Crokin, who's just like a really off the wall conspiracy theorist, comes up in it. And this it was released. You'll see later, the quality really is like feature film quality, as far as the way it's filmed and the way it's edited. But this thing, I don't know, you would think that the QAnon audience is maybe like generously like a couple 100,000 people, but this film has millions of views on YouTube. Last time I checked, it was more than 8 million.
Right. I had checked, and you are correct. Right before we started, it is above 8 million now. Yeah,
so this thing is like exploding, particularly on Facebook. It's being spread around a lot. So naturally, I was curious. So I started to watch it, and it is very bonkers. People who are watching along with us will kind of see what happens here. It starts off with stuff that has been proven, it's real, like different CIA conspiracies that actually did happen. Uh, but very quickly, there's just like a turning point in the film where it just like takes a sharp bend, and then it's just I guess you'll have to watch and see.
Right, right. I mean, isn't that the truth
Yeah,
about most?
no spoilers. We are not going to spoil the pedophiles in Hollywood movie for anybody.
I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing the swerve where it all goes off the rails, because that's sort of the how that's the thing about these conspiracy theorists on the right. A lot of times, their anger and frustration is at something that's very real, like there are pedophiles.
Right.
But then they decide that, these sort of very real issues don't have very real solutions or explanations. They decide it's something that's completely bonkers and off the walls, like you said. Lizard people, perhaps.
Right. I mean, it's essentially what this is like, what is the most like horrific thing you could imagine, right? It's like a serial killer or like a pedophile or like a Satan worshiper, maybe not like us, but like society wise. And I only said that in reference to the satanic part, just to be totally clear. But there's, yeah, like a lot of these things, like a lot of the world's great evils don't really have a clear explanation for their existence, or like why hasn't this been stopped? How is this allowed to happen? How can somebody like Jeffrey Epstein just operate seemingly out in the open for so many years without consequences? And there aren't clear answers at all.
Right.
So I think that takes people to a point where they are willing to accept more nonsensical explanations for it.
Right.
More conspiracy-minded explanations for it. And I don't know. It's like you'll see in the movie, like the way the movie is set up is it's like a journey through this one guy's life as he just gets like more red-pilled and more red-pilled. So in that way, it's kind of informative because you can kind of see the journey this guy went on. But it's, I don't know, like whenever I run across people who are like very devout conspiracy theorists who are like down the point of like being into Pizzagate and stuff, I kind of just end up feeling more sad than anything.
Right.
Because these people in like this film, it's not like stupid, right? It's not unintelligent. It's just intelligent people who have come to incredibly wrong conclusions.
I mean, I definitely agree with you when it comes to the average, like the people who are consuming this film, definitely. But the people who created this film, who get the financing or the money or have a grift running off of this, those people,
No sympathy for them,
right.
man.
So just want to say that the film has a little addendum to it that says that they used a lot of third-party sources, third-party footage and material, and it's all fair use. They say that. So I'm going to go ahead and say that should be extended to us, from what I understand, because they don't own that material. And this is a fair use showing of this film. They also say they want people to share it far and wide. There's multiple, I counted, a couple dozen uploads, different uploads of it on YouTube. So this is just another upload of it with our fair use commentary, because it's newsworthy. And let's get started. Now, for the audience, I tried to test it out with Jared beforehand. We have it working for both of us. The only issue, though, is that you might have to guide me in the comment section of YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, or Facebook, wherever you may be watching it. It's streaming on all those locations. You may have to drop in the comments if I'm too loud, or Jared's too low, or you can't hear the film. Just let me know. I'll fix the audio levels as we go, and that should only be, the first couple minutes into the movie, and then everything will be set. Other than that, Jared, are you ready?
I am. I've got a glass of beer here. I think I'm ready to go.
No, Jared, I said, are you ready? I'm doing a DX thing, Degeneration X.
Oh, no.
All right, let's do it. Let's cue this up. Give me a second to just... we'll be in the lower hand corner, giving you all the commentary you would need. Mystery Science Theater 3000 style. I guess just without the comedic talents. But let's do this.
Why do you believe what you believe? Because at some point in your life, you trusted the information that somebody was giving you. And that someone you trusted told you that a car was a car, a tree was a tree, a bird was a bird, the blue stuff above you is the sky. And that's the way that we began to determine what we believe to be a fact.
Are they coming after Bill Nye?
Yeah. We are already
Most of the things that we believe to be a fact in our lives are told to us through our stories or the news that we hear. So my question would be, if they were deceiving you with the stories they tell you, would you be able to recognize that?
So we've all heard the term conspiracy theory. Personally, for me, I've never really had time to get
Is this
into
the guy who
that
made it?
Because, frankly,
Yeah.
I'm working all the time, and I don't have the time to look into Bigfoot or aliens or flat Earth or 9/11 conspiracy or the Jfk assassination. It's just, it's not anything that I really have any backstory on. But the one thing that I do have a lot of backstory on, the one thing I do know a lot about is Hollywood.
When you think about the entertainment industry, what comes to mind? Movies, TV, music, right? Let's talk about this entertainment.
I've been observing you.
What if this entertainment was more than just entertainment?
Now in complete control!
When you're driving home from work, what are you listening to? When you come home after a long day and turn on the TV, what do you see?
The U.S. are bracing.
Saying that the one.
I think it's interesting that
Think about
sports
all
is
the
an
content
example
you've
here
seen throughout your whole
of,
life.
like the brainwashing.
Oh, right, sports.
A lot of it has actually made us who we are today.
So you don't know what's really going on.
Have you ever stopped for just a second, though, and questioned the content?
You ever questioned Star Wars, Jared?
R2-D2, what the fuck is up with that guy?
The only thing we consume more than content is air. But we actually think about the quality of the air we breathe. Maybe it's time to take a closer look at our content.
And fear. Taxes.
Our government's always controlled our content.
The fight for freedom.
We've just never paid attention.
Freedom of speech.
Message received.
The police occupy our community.
To work with the CIA to destabilize foreign countries.
Oh, shit!
This media that we're consuming at such a rapid
You saw Leslie Lee made it into this from Struggle Session.
Uh-oh.
What if the people in charge
I
didn't
feel like
have our
someone
best
must have
interests
found
in
out
mind?
that he's in this.
Now we have to ask ourselves, who's influencing our content?
Is the CIA involved in Hollywood?
Yes.
Okay, pause this real quick. That guy that was just on the screen is a nutcase, dude. Like, he has been on Fox a few times because his whole thing is like, oh, I was a CIA agent. And then now he just, like, tours around and makes these insane national security claims. It just viciously anti-Muslim. And it's one of those, like, I was kind of surprised to see him in this, actually. Because
You think this movie is...
his bar is low, but I didn't think it was this low.
Oh, so you think... I thought you were actually saying that this movie is worth more than that guy. Like, that guy is that bad. But you're saying the opposite, no?
I mean, he gets treated, like, kind of seriously. He's one of these guys that, like, whenever a conservative publication has, like, a line they're trying to push or, like, a narrative they're trying to push, they bring this guy up because they know he'll just, like, say the thing. And then they can quote him, ex-CIA agent says, instead of, like, saying it themselves, you know?
Right. Now, before I press play, Jared, just fixing the volume here. On your end, is there any way you could put your output volume up on your mic or whatever you're using? Because I actually have you up all the way, so there's pretty much nothing else I can do with your mic right now.
Let me see.
People were saying that the movie was a little bit too loud, so I lowered the movie, and then I think the movie was a little bit too low, and then I was able to fix my mic, but your mic is already as high as it can possibly go.
Let's see. Is this any better?
I think
can people in the chat tell me that if this is any better?
I think you did do something, because I did notice some sort of change. I guess we'll just have to watch the movie and take it from there.
Okay, yeah. People in the chat, please let Matt know if this is better or if I'm still quiet.
All right, let's get back to Out of Shadows. And by the way, perfect. I don't know if you timed this. I don't know if you had rewatched the movie before we went live so you knew where to pause it. To completely, perfectly pause it on the title screen. Jared, that is just magnifique, my man. I mean, jeez. Fantastic. Let's do it.
Hey, man, that's why they pay me the
medium bucks?
The medium dollars, yeah.
Guys, come ahead.
I'm rolling. Go. That's good right there. It's picking up speed. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. Go, go, go.
I mean, if the rest of this movie is just car crashes, I'm fine with it.
There's something eerily beautiful about just watching 2 tons of metal get ripped to shreds.
Right. Well, the good part is it's planned. These are stunts, so no one's actually getting
there
hurt.
There he is. There's the
I probably
guy.
had one of the coolest jobs in the world. I was a professional stunt performer.
You mean QAnon filmmaker doesn't outdo being a stunt driver?
I've got to be Batman. I've got to be James Bond. I've won World Stunt Awards. I am in the Screen Actors Guild. I'm in the DGA. I'm in the WGA. And last year I got into the Academy, the Oscars. I worked my way up from being a stuntman to being a fight coordinator, to being a stunt coordinator, to being a second unit director. First big job I get, I'm on Batman Forever. And I'm walking around set and I'm pinching myself. I'm looking over, there's Tommy Lee Jones, there's Jim Carrey, there's Val Kilmer, there's Drew Barrymore, there's Nicole Kidman. And I'm like, how did I get here?
I question too. But I'm questioning how you got here,
really
as in making this movie.
Man. I wanted to
Right,
go make
right.
movies.
I've got a lot of
Being
questions,
a
actually.
stuntman was the easiest way for me to get into the business. I didn't want to be an actor because pretending to be a character. Well, being a stuntman, I was that character. I was the guy behind the illusion, creating it for the guy who's on the screen. I jumped out of that helicopter. I was in that fireball. I did whatever was being asked of the job. I've had an amazing career, and I've had an amazing life.
So let's just ruin it all.
Let's make
But in the
myself
system
never
that exists
hireable
today,
again.
As I get up the ladder, I realize it's not what people think it is. It's an illusion. It is a complete illusion.
Ah, I understand the segue now. Because in the chat, listener Zoe said, so wait, is this a documentary about
In
stuntmen?
2014,
A lot of stunts up front.
a television show up in Portland.
Oh, you know, you just gotta
I
make
had
sure the
to
guy's cool first.
That's definitely part of it.
I've done this stunt probably variations of it 20 times over my career. It was nothing. It was a small fall down into a stairwell. I did the first take fine, the second take, I knew I could do it better. I went up and I fell over the rail and I landed on the pipe down below and I burst fractured my L2 vertebrae and I was paralyzed from the waist down. When you are injured, when you are catastrophically injured and it changes who you are, I knew from that day I would never be the athlete that I once was.
Okay, hit pause real quick.
And I always told.
So in this part of the movie, this guy is about to take us through his the early stage, the first time that he had what would I say? First time he takes the red pill, basically. And it has to do with a physical therapy appointment. So just make sure you pay attention here. This is going to be important going on.
All right, well, I will say, sad story so far in terms of what happened to this guy.
Huge bummer.
Right, and I think completely on the nose when he says completely changed forever, because I don't know how we got here, but I guess we're about to find out.
Although I do think it's a little silly that this guy is working on movie sets and he's like, it's all an illusion, man. It's yes, that is the point.
Right, yes. Right.
How do you think movies are they're not real, man? I don't know what to tell you.
It seems to me that he got so wrapped up in the fact that he works on movies and discovering that movies are an illusion and not real, that he somehow fell into his very own Truman Show, where he believes everything is fictional and not real.
Yeah, and in this movie, they don't have intro cards or captions showing you anybody's name. The name of this guy is Mike Smith.
Oh, you're right. They didn't give us who any of these people are so far.
Right. The production quality is so high, but there just seem to be some really obvious oversights going on.
Right.
Like they missed some things that, I would think at least would be pretty clear that should be included. But I guess maybe it was an editorial call. Maybe this is part of the art, and I just don't get it. But
right. Well, it's pretty clear to me that this is a documentary by a stunt guy and not the title card guy. Not the guy responsible for lower thirds.
Right.
All right, let's do this.
As a stuntman, the worst possible injury you can get is a lower back injury. You can break your legs, your arms, whatever, but if you injure your lower back or your hips, your pelvic region, you're done. There was 2 years that I didn't think I would ever live without pain. One of the issues I was dealing with at that time was I had lost the feeling, and I still have numbness in my thighs and on this half of my pelvic region. I was going to physical therapy, and the lady looks at me and she goes, "This isn't really helping you. You're way more advanced than this stuff." And I go, "Yeah, I do this every morning." She goes, "Well, what's the real issue?" I said, "The real issue is my pelvic region." And so she said, "Okay, well, there's a woman who works here, and she is a pelvic floor therapist."
So
is that someone's actual title? Is that a real thing?
His spine was broken, and he had partial paralyzation of his pelvic floor area. We help people when they have problems with the most important functions in your life: bowel, bladder, and sexual function.
So one day we're in the middle of therapy, and she stops me and she says, "Mike, I feel like you have really dark spirits."
That's a thing.
Over you. Can I pray for you? And I was like, "Pray for me?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, pray for me." I don't really believe in that stuff anymore, but yeah, go ahead, pray for me. So she prays for me. And I was kind of thinking while she's doing it, okay, this is weird, but okay, whatever. So for the next 2 or 3 months, I would go, and then every now and then she would stop me and she'd say, "Hey, can
Matt,
I pray?"
are you hearing a clicking from the chat?
Oh yeah, is that what you're hearing?
Yeah, I'm hearing that.
All right, let me see if I could. It happens.
Oh, it's okay. We're still figuring this out, folks. Thanks for being patient.
I don't think it's it's coming through the stream though, because otherwise people would definitely be letting me know. So if you don't mind.
Oh, well, yeah, as long as it's not going through the stream.
Oh wait, I got it. It's done. It's gone.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Let's go back to Mike's pelvic floor therapist.
Disgusted with his personality because he was all about himself and money, and I think the Lord had a lot of work to do in terms of humility with him. He made it very clear that he thought I was crazy, but he let me.
After she stopped one day, and I said, "You are either 100% batshit crazy, or you think all this is real in the spirit world? And she looked at me and she said, Michael, I am one of the only pelvic floor therapists in Southern California at the time. And when these satanic people and these evil people do their rituals to little girls and women and boys, who do you think puts them back together? I do. It's completely real, and you need to look into it.
Time out.
My awakening, it didn't happen.
I'm so
this guy is obviously like getting his physical therapy from somebody who like is not on this planet.
I mean, she sounds like there's something up with her. Even that the audio they have from her, I mean, she sounds like someone who probably is part of a cult.
I just want to like make sure that we paused here and just like took time to really reflect on like what got him started on this path, which is he's going to physical therapy. His physical therapist just looks at him and is like, you have evil spirits around you. I'm going to pray for you. And he's like, whatever, fine. And then it's just like, I put children back together. But yeah, we can go on because like I just took this at face value and ran with it.
I mean, it is pretty incredible that the reason why this guy got here is because he got injured on a movie. The reason this guy believes in QAnon is because he got injured on a movie set and needed to go with a pelvic floor therapist. And apparently, the pelvic floor therapist he ends up with is very odd, to say the least. I do like this where you paused, where you had me pause it though. I feel like we are. Yeah,
we got a nice what's it called? Basilica.
We are being like the sun is shining down on us, Jared.
At church, the way that some people find God, I just pretty much had given up my faith and I'd given up where I was at, and I was just kind of at the point where I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have the best time I can here, and when I die, that's it.
I still wasn't sure if it wasn't 100% crazy or not, but I was reading these articles and looking at these things, and I was like, you know, I've seen things at parties, I've seen artwork, I've seen statues, I've seen things.
Yes, those are things.
In some people's houses that just seem to be mimicking a cult.
Oh, they're now showing satanic statues and paintings.
So I was like,
okay, time out again.
I'm just gonna.
So just.
Oh boy! This is the secret Passion of the Christ. Is that what this is?
Oh wow, yeah, that's a nice place to stop.
Happy Easter, everyone.
Yeah, so just so you know, for people following along at home, the timeline of this guy's red pilling is that he got physical therapist, or he had physical therapy from a therapist who said that she saw demons surrounding him, and then said that she repairs people used in satanic rituals. And then he just starts thinking about it. He gets this in his head, and then he sees like all the like metal shit and like weird statues and stuff, and is like, oh, this is the occult, this is real. And that's where we are so far.
I just want to say that if someone who had no idea who you or I was just happened to stumble upon this YouTube stream with the title being watching the QAnon movie, and they come in now and they see an image of Jesus Christ on the cross, a very bloody image of Jesus Christ on the cross, and two people in the corner in boxes talking, it definitely looks like we are an actual legit QAnon feed right now.
Oh God, yeah. Move on. Unpause this. We gotta get off this.
I didn't find God because I went to church. I found God because I realized that the Luciferian and the other side, the occult world, was real, and that I had been fooled for all these years, and I then got really scared. I got really scared because this was the first time in my life that I was
having to question my own reality. Physically, I was crushed. I wasn't going to be who I was. And spiritually, I mean, if I'm being honest, I didn't know anything about being a Christian. I mean, really. And then professionally, everything that I knew about my career, I was starting to look at in a different way. I was starting to question my career in Hollywood from a different perspective. So I got off of social media and I made an anonymous account. I started reading blogs.
Wait.
Okay,
that's not getting off social media. That's just getting very on social media. More on social media than you were prior to getting on social media.
So this account, let me see if I can pull this up real quick. I think we took it.
Oh, it's down?
Oh, no. Here we go. So let me know if you guys can see this okay. I just want you to, Matt, if you could just read the bio of this account out loud.
You have to bring it a lot closer. Hold on. I'm going to make our screen a lot larger. Okay, here we go. Follower of...
This is the most boomer way to do this.
Follower of the Lord Jesus Christ, Ascension Patriot. Is that what it says? And then it's hashtag MAGA, hashtag QAnon, something else I can't see. And then hashtag God wins, hashtag when we go one, we go all worldwide, which is a new one. I haven't seen that one. And also there's a link to this movie.
Yeah, so at this point, like, we know for sure that this person is like a QAnon person. That is like what makes this a like Q film in my mind, is this was like written, produced, and featuring people who push QAnon really hard. So this is the point in the movie where he kind of like shows his hand a little bit as far as like how deep he is in this conspiracy mess.
He's flaunting his Q credentials.
Yeah, that's swagger of the deep state.
Online, I just started searching for the truth, and I was finding accounts that were searching for the truth themselves. They weren't mainstream accounts. These were accounts online that I felt like were like me. They were just looking for what the truth was. I didn't believe I was getting the truth from CNN, MSNBC, Fox. I didn't believe any of them. I just wanted to read it, absorb it, and digest it, and trust what my gut
I like the soundtrack.
I was reading. As I did my research, I began to understand there's a very small group of people that influence all the companies that we watch.
Welcome to
it's called capitalism.
But Disney just bought Fox, and Disney controls Marvel, and Disney owns Lucas Studios. So look at that giant audience right here.
I will say the fact that the X-Men are reunited with the Marvel with Marvel for the movies is one of the few areas where I'm actually supportive of. Somehow that angered this guy so much that it made him think there was an international pedophile conspiracy that's connected to the movie industry specifically. I mean, he's not...
Yeah, I mean, I just love how many conspiracy theories stem from just like recognizing like a fatal flaw of capitalism and like corporate America. And then they're like, instead of being like, maybe there's like wealth concentration in weird places and like that's not good. Instead they're like, pedophiles.
Right.
Say a small group of people control the narratives and the content that we all see on all the channels. It makes you feel like, oh, I have lots of choices, but you don't. Who's telling them what to put on those channels?
Hold on again. I'm sorry, but I mean, that's probably one of the longest, most cliche complaints about just like cable television. It's like 5,000 channels and nothing to watch. So what is this guy? What is this guy has just come to this epiphany and it's a global conspiracy? Unbelievable.
Where does that lead?
Tonight, the FBI is on the case, and they are warning big companies in America to protect their data after a big Hollywood studio got hit by hackers and several blockbuster movies ended up online.
This is the first time the United States has accused a foreign government of a cyber attack against an American corporation.
And this interested me because I worked over at Sony quite a bit during my career, and I actually had to get LifeLock during the Sony hack, so I was curious. I was like, what was this really about?
Well, the narrative put out in the public was Seth Rogen and James Franco made a movie about North Korea.
And so they were mad, and so they decided to hack Sony to teach them a lesson. That was a public narrative that went out, and that's what I was like, well, that makes sense. You know, I know Seth and I know James, and they're definitely pushed the envelope of comedy, and their sense of humor is definitely their own. And I thought to myself, okay, that makes sense.
And now private emails are going public.
It's a public relations disaster.
But what I found really interesting as I examined the WikiLeaks documents was it showed that the heads of one of our biggest movie studios in America was in direct communication with very important people in our government. It didn't surprise me. I was like, okay, well, either they're friends or there's something more to it. So I never really thought about the government influencing our content or our stories. Could they be influencing our story and our content? Like, these were real questions that I never had asked myself. I just did the jobs. I went to work, I did my job, I did whatever was asked, and went home.
Okay, so what he's doing here, I'm just gonna start throwing the timeout sign, but so I feel like if you're just watching this and you're not taking like pauses to reflect it and like think about it, it kind of gets lost how like bad the logic or like bad the thinking is here. And this is a movie that they've produced and theoretically have reviewed and stuff, and they still thought this sounded good. What he's saying is he thinks, you know, Sony was hacked by North Korea in retaliation for a film that portrayed North Korea very unfavorably and mockingly. But then WikiLeaks, and then someone emailed another person, no mention of the contents of the email, just that it happened. And now, does the government make the content? Like, what happened to the North Korea hack thing?
Right.
Just, like, totally left that one behind.
So North Korea hacked Sony because it's starting to make sense to me, Jared. Hold on. Let me see if I got this right. You might need a lot of Post-it notes on your wall right now. Okay, ready? All right, so I don't know if you remember this, but Donald Trump tries hard to be BFFs with good old Kim Jong-un. And now what if North Korea hacked Sony to take on the global pedophile ring, because if there's anything that North Korea is known for, it is their objection of child pornography. And
that famous fact about North Korea.
I mean, I would be happy if that's true, but that's not what they're known for.
I would hope so, man. I would hope.
So Kim Jong-un did that. And I don't know if he was in cahoots with Trump, if they're working together on this. Maybe every time North Korea shoots a quote-unquote missile into the sky, it's just to distract the media while Kim Jong-un and Trump undergo the next phase of taking on the global pedophile ring. I don't know. But one thing I do enjoy, and this might need to be a separate post-it note on that wall, this guy, he really likes Seth Rogen and James Franco.
Yeah, dude, they're bros, man. I know these guys. I know Seth Rogen and James Franco.
He wants to be cool so bad, and he knows those two are cool dudes, that in his little pedophile documentary, the two stars of the film that are connected to this company that are apparently a part of this global pedophile ring, no way does the thought even pop into his mind that, hey, maybe they're involved in it. After all, they do have movie after movie starring roles with these companies. What are they doing to get them?
Yeah, like he says he knows these guys, but like on a movie set, this was 100% like this guy's like, "All right, what's up, James? I'm gonna do your stunts. Yeah, what's up, man?" And then James Franco was like, "Oh, thanks, dude. You're a cool guy." And then he was like, "All right, we're friends."
That's totally what happens. And he probably did smoke a joint with Seth Rogen outside or something.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But I'm not saying if I was in his shoes, I would be differently, you know?
Someone needs to.
I get a handshake from Ilhan Omar, and then I'm like, yeah, we're tight.
Right. I mean, I once gave Bernie Sanders a quick handshake in 2016 when he passed by me at an event. By the way, Bernie Sanders is now my grandfather. It just happens when the handshake occurs. I call him every night to say goodnight. He never answers the phone, nor do I know if I'm contacting the right number. But that's just how it works. But what I was going to say was someone should actually at Seth Rogen. I almost said Joe Rogan. Seth Rogen. And let him know that this guy, Chris, what's his name again?
Smith.
Chris Smith gives him a shout out in this QAnon documentary. And maybe we get some word out of Seth Rogen as to whether him and Chris are BFFs.
Yeah, so you guys friends or what?
All right, let's continue.
So I was like, I don't really know anybody that can answer these questions. And I reached out to this guy who I'd been watching online. His name was Kevin Shipp. And for those of you who don't know who Kevin Shipp is, he's a CIA whistleblower. He worked in counterintelligence, and he served in many capacities in his tenure at the CIA.
This is The Big Picture, an official television report to the nation from the United States Army.
It was an OSS memo, the precursor to the CIA,
Ooh,
where they were doing a study
documents here.
of the use of motion pictures in America as a means of psychological warfare. So it goes all the way back to pre-1947, when U.S. intelligence was using motion pictures to alter the thinking of Americans in the United States.
Okay, time out.
Troops is high.
1947. What was happening then?
I don't know, Jared.
Could it have been a world war?
Possibly. I don't know.
Were we at war? Was the government making wartime propaganda? Are you kidding me?
Could be a lot of things, Jared. Could be a lot of things.
We already know this. This isn't a secret. Like, watch Looney Tunes from the era, dude. It's like the government was like very clearly just being like, we need to drum up support for the war. And like the entertainment reflected that. I don't. Also, just a document noting on its face that like, oh yeah, people are influenced by the media they consume. It's like, aha, got you.
Right. I mean, how do we know that document itself isn't meant to influence people into thinking that the government influences the media?
Oh, shit. You're right, man.
The laughter, music, and general entertainment which comes out of a single small package like this one have helped to build that morale.
The CIA is funneling information into Hollywood. Hollywood is putting out in the movies, and the population believes it.
Taxes to bury the Axis.
Oh, I just want to point out just some there's some confusion in the chat though. This is another part to stop, but you said 47, and I think we should make it clear that these documents range from, I mean, this one we're looking at right now is 44, so this was during World War II, whereas, you know, in 47, World War II was clearly, it was over.
Oh, right, yeah. No, sorry, I wasn't clear about that.
But I wanted to pause it here anyway, because was not expecting a Donald Duck appearance in my QAnon film. I mean, I know Disney did propaganda films. I just thought they did stop doing propaganda films in the 40s. I didn't know they were doing them today.
This document right here is a FOIA document. Anybody in America, anybody can request this. It's Freedom of Information Act. And in the 40s, they were telling you they controlled the radio stations. They controlled most of the mainstream media. They're telling you right here that motion pictures are used as psychological warfare. Why would they stop doing it?
At no time has the CIA engaged in any political activity or any intelligence.
Someone should let Democracy Now! Know that
it was not approved.
They're also
at the highest level.
Alan Dulles groomed and recruited Ian Fleming, and Dulles and the CIA actually helped Fleming.
They couldn't even find that source material. They basically used a Democracy Now! Clip of something Democracy Now! Found from the archives.
Dulles helped produce Thunderball to make the CIA and agents look like honorable, cool people. The CIA actually helped him write the books and write the script for that movie. And then the president of MPAA was actually providing intelligence to the CIA as an operative in that position in Hollywood.
Mr. Fleming, in your books there's a great amount of detail. Is this detail based on personal experience? Do you make it up? Where does it come from?
Well, I can say it's 90% from personal experience, really. Of course, if I started sticking too close to the true espionage work of today, I should be in trouble with the Official Secrets Act in England, even supposing I had access to information.
I feel like they've even lost what they're trying to say a little bit here. They're a little bit muddled here.
Yeah. It's not very
There's no question
clear
about the fact that Mockingbird is real. It started out paying journalists in major media, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalists, to print fake stories that the CIA wanted in the press and fake interviews. And this was revealed in the Church Committee.
Do you have any people being paid?
Also, unclear if they realized that James Bond is a fictional character.
Who are contributing
Couldn't quite tell when they used those clips.
to a major circulation American journal. We do have people who submit pieces to American journals.
And of course, then the CIA destroyed the rest of the files, which is what they do. George H.W. Bush came out and finally made the statement about Mockingbird. Well, we're going to officially stop the Mockingbird program. The CIA will no longer pay journalists to write stories. From now on, the program is voluntary, which means Mockingbird continues
The media industry has actually never been quite the same since the CIA stopped paying us. That's sort of when digital media started going downhill.
Yeah, man, these layoffs
There's
are
a reason
terrible.
for that.
This would
Like
mean
we talk about the pivot to video, but it was really like the pivot away from Mockingbird.
Right.
Really do the same.
Right. Also, the video thing was true as well, but that was a CIA push because they realized the Facebook numbers were doing really well on video.
Probably for a reporter it would continue today, but because of all of the revelations of the period of the 1970s, it seems to me that a reporter's got to be much more circumspect in doing it now, or he runs the risk of at least being looked at with considerable disfavor by the public. I think you've got to be much more careful about it.
Platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think.
Yeah, this is a Sinclair thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it was like
This
a
is
pro-Trump
extremely
thing
dangerous
too.
to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous
Yeah,
to our
this is-
democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Right. This was like a must-run segment for Sinclair stations. Sinclair is one of the largest local news syndicates. The people who own Sinclair are like very right-wing.
Right.
And if I remember correctly, this segment was like kind of defensive of Trump.
Right.
This whole like threat to our democracy thing, if I remember correctly, was like people gunning for the president too hard.
Also, this is a John Oliver or Conan.
Let me fact check myself real quick.
What I was going to say, this is also a John Oliver or Conan O'Brien bit, by the way, where they find the local news stations all making the same comment or joke. So congratulations to this documentary for finding a late night TV bit and thinking there's something worthy of saying about your QAnon conspiracy. I mean, it definitely is an issue with Sinclair, but all right, you keep looking, Jared. I will press.
Yeah, no, I was right. This was a pro-Trump thing.
Yep. What did you? It would have been a surprise to me if all of a sudden you told me, "Oh no, this was Sinclair being critical of Trump."
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Northwest communities. We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that station news produces. Yeah. The script is just. Ugh.
There is something about the way the CIA has been functioning that is casting a shadow on our historic position of freedom, and I feel we need to correct it.
Senator Moynihan proposed a bill to dismantle the CIA.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Introduced it twice. The second time was 1995. Ironically, 1 year later in 1996, the CIA established the Entertainment Liaison Office, which was specifically penetrated into Hollywood, and Chase Brandon was actually co-wrote scripts. For example, The Recruit.
We're looking for high horsepower, high energy, very competitive people who are driven by patriotism and a sense of wanting to serve a greater cause.
I am recruiting you. Would I have to kill anyone?
Here, I'll be back in like 10 seconds and then we can another.
So the CIA was and is in Hollywood, was and is contributing to Hollywood productions and that manipulation.
The Recruit.
Nothing is what it seems. As I started to wake up, I never actually considered that the CIA had an office in Hollywood. And I'm like, well, I see this, I see that. And I started putting feelers out, like, does anybody else see this stuff? And not many people were awake. But the one person that I reached out to was an old colleague of mine, a friend of mine named Brad Martin. And Brad and I had similar careers. We worked our way up through the business together. And I'm like, hey, Brad, you've seen this, you've seen that? And he's like, yeah, for sure. And so that gave me strength. That gave me like, okay, well, I'm not alone in this deal. And I'm gonna keep looking.
Let me just say this. Brad's one of the greatest stuntmen I've ever met. Probably the best.
I'm a very physically creative person. I've been doing action for movies for 26, 27 years. I excelled at the action aspect of it, at the physical aspect of doing the fights and doing the gymnastics and doing the falls and doing the driving. I trained really hard and became one of the top stuntmen in the business. I started becoming a fight coordinator, and then a stunt coordinator, and then an action director. Very few people have ever gotten to where I've gotten to, and I'm super proud of what I did.
Was not expecting that Mortal Kombat Goro scene to be in this movie.
I have a very idealistic view of the movie business, and I've been disillusioned a few times. It feels very much like there's an agenda in every movie. I realized that it was more of a machine, and it was more of they just needed content to put out there for the masses. I stopped really watching TV. I stopped really watching movies. And one of the reasons why I stopped watching movies is I got into my research and what's going on in the world right now, and all the corruptness and all of the plot twists of reality. And I started realizing that reality is 20 times more interesting than Hollywood. I mean, I was a Hollywood buff. I loved all of those movies, but now they're meaningless because I know what's going on right now actually has purpose and has a meaning, and there are consequences. And once this story is told on what's happening in the world right now, and all of the powers that be battling each other, it will be the greatest story ever told. Like, for instance, I saw something on History Channel talking about how the CIA helped Disney buy all the swampland in Florida.
You saw it on the History Channel.
His lawyers in charge of purchasing
Interesting.
the parcels had served in
Isn't that
military intelligence
corporate
during World War II and knew how to
CIA
keep a secret.
propaganda?
And they used
Right.
several different companies, none with Disney's name, to acquire the properties.
Now I go down this rabbit hole of what does the CIA have to do with Hollywood, or at least with Disney? Washington, D.C. is definitely in Hollywood. I have seen documents of the DoD and the CIA writing to the studio heads, guiding them in certain fashion.
I think we need to really shut down the stuntman industry until we get figured out what the hell is going on here. Clearly.
Another program
There's
developed
something
by the
going on with
CIA
stuntmen.
after World War II was called Operation Paperclip. It's been depicted in many movies, including Disney's Marvel series.
It's Operation Paperclip after World War II. SHIELD recruited German scientists with strategic value.
Thought I could help their cause.
Operation Paperclip, and this is something people need to know because it has been so covered
Yeah.
up and mocked. And
They put it in the
berated and
movie
claimed
for
to
that
be a
reason.
conspiracy theory. And by the way, the term labeling people as conspiracy theorists was invented by the CIA to deflect any attention.
Wait, I just gotta point this out. Do they think it was just a coinkydink that Operation Paperclip was was named in that movie? That they weren't specifically trying to reference the
Right. They're trying to make sure you don't know about this. It's like, oh, but also they mention it all the time.
It's used in every movie, completely making it relevant. But apparently they're also not telling you about it.
Right, man. A lot of this shit just doesn't make a lot of sense when you think about it for more than a minute.
Also, I want to point out, because I had a feeling, but I wanted to double check, that senator that they bring up, Moynihan, who pointed out all this stuff about the CIA, a Democrat. I mean, small potatoes, but not mentioned in the documentary. They wouldn't say that to their audience because they don't want their audience to think that perhaps some Democrats might be not so bad, or
they're like, what? There's a lib in this thing?
Yeah,
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, or Republicans might also be part of this whole whatever they think it is. But well, let's continue. Let's see what else is in here.
The JFK assassination. They invented that word as a way to shut down any scrutiny or this critical investigation of what they were doing. So they started that whole ball rolling. In terms of Operation Paperclip, it is documented. There's absolutely no question about it. Alan Dulles, CIA director, was associate of Heinrich Himmler of the Third Reich. So what Dulles proceeded to do when the Third Reich was brought down was he secretly brought all of the top Nazi scientists into the U.S. He falsified their files that he gave to Harry Truman, making them look like there were no war crimes. They brought these Nazi scientists into the CIA to work for the CIA, and that includes the human experiments they conducted on Jewish men, women, and children, and the psychological studies that these Nazi scientists had done. The CIA was using their expertise for these programs through Operation Paperclip, and this was Nazi, much of it occult beliefs that the CIA adopted and actually put these people on their payroll.
One of the programs that came out of Operation Paperclip was MKUltra. Now, MKUltra was a very complex program that dealt with human experiments and mind manipulation.
As this 1952 CIA memo says, the aim is controlling an individual to the point where he will do our bidding against his will, and even against such fundamental laws of nature as self-preservation.
In the Church Committee, MKUltra came out as an actual program of mind control using mental, physical, and sexual abuse and psychotropic drugs.
Lysergic acid diethylamide, LSD.
Right. We're so far back into reality, it seems.
Anybody had run into
Right, like,
a
this was a real
powerful
thing.
drug
Right.
that was different.
I look forward to seeing where they connect this to, though.
A decision was made at the highest levels of the CIA to do testing
Is
on
it gonna be good?
unwitting Americans.
At Ravenscraig, Dr. Cameron went further with drugs and electric shock treatments than any researchers in the MKUltra project dared. His aim was to wipe the mind clean. Then he would implant new messages by forcing the patient to listen to a hypnotic repetition as many as 250,000 times. This was called psychic driving.
He would give the patient intensive electric treatment. He would attempt to implant new ideas in the mind of the patient.
Now, to a layman, it would appear that Dr. Cameron was trying to take the slate and wipe it clean, the slate being the mind. In other words, brainwashing.
Exactly, that's a very good comparison.
Brainwashing.
Yes, if you like.
No. Oh, good heavens.
You're doing fine. Just try to describe it.
Oh, you don't know. You want to give yourself. You want to give yourself surgery.
How do you feel inside? Inside? I'm really inside.
Nobody explained it to me. Nobody ever asked me if I was willing to do it or anything.
Now, I don't know if this is purposefully done this way, because I don't think there's enough thought put into it. But it's interesting how much time they're spending on this, because this is the stuff that's verifiable. This is also none of the footage they cut, none of their this. We've been literally just listening to third-party content, archived content, that is basically just telling people things that are not being uncovered by this gentleman and his people.
Right, like as we watch the movie, you'll realize that the whole thing, like the original content here is the voiceovers and like 3 different interviews.
Right, and
four different interviews.
But this specific section is so much of the archived content that to the average viewer, I bet they don't even realize that this isn't even these guys adding anything to it. Like this is the first voiceover probably in like 5 minutes that they shot.
Feeling better, thank you.
Feeling better? Are you sleeping well?
Yes, I'm sleeping better now.
We could disable a whole city by putting a very small amount on a water supply. After all of these years of us, those of us who are involved in looking for this secret drug, this was the only thing that began to look for the first time like it might be something like that.
So MKUltra was one of the hardest programs for me to wrap my head around, because it's a lot of subset programs. And I was really surprised that Brad Martin knew about MKUltra.
People think that research people are crazy for talking about MKUltra, mind control. Even if they acknowledge that existed, they go, oh, well, that ended in the 70s. That's a crock of shit.
And perhaps the world's only hope of stopping a sinister assassination plot.
The movie that I did involving that topic was Zoolander.
The fashion industry has been behind every major political assassination over the last 200 years.
I mean, at the time, I was making a comedy and I had no idea what I was involved with. But now looking back on the movie, I'm blown away at just the propaganda.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
In a movie like Zoolander, when they're showing you that they're controlling Derek Zoolander's mind through mind control, you realize that they're trying to desensitize you and to make you think that what you're watching is fiction because it's in a comedy.
Wait. All right. Well, first of all, mind control in the way that it's portrayed in that film, if I remember correctly, is not really what they were doing in MKUltra. I mean, he uses his it's sort of like telekinetic powers almost, right? I mean, he does something weird, right?
Every portrayal of mind control, which is like a superpower, right?
Yes.
This was in superhero comics, and like is something, it's not that uncommon, right? But instead, like all portrayals of that are now to desensitize you to mind control. If they were really doing mind control, why would they need to desensitize you? They just like punch in a few new buttons and like
you're desensitized. Boom.
Right.
right. Yeah. I mean, it's also amazing how where they and I was bringing up before, and someone said they couldn't hear me because of the I was saying too much over the movie. But what I was saying was how there was like a 5-minute chunk where it was all just archived footage, and that was the most legit part of it because it's them not using, like, not giving any of their own information.
It had none of their input.
While also, though, to the average viewer, giving the sense that, oh, this is material that's being discovered for the film, or this is, oh, that's correct, and that shows how smart these guys are. I mean, they didn't do anything for that. But what I wanted to bring up now was, I don't know how many other films or documentaries can say that they segue from archived footage from like the 50s of CIA and MKUltra and Operation Paperclip stuff to a clip of Zoolander. So kudos to these guys for doing that.
Amazing.
It's like a mass MKUltra now. Their purpose is to capture the minds of the people and feed them false history. The CIA is funneling information into Hollywood. Hollywood is putting out in the movies, and the population believes it.
All right, so look, here's the deal. They have been desensitizing us since we were born. And I'll give you some examples. Let's start with the big one. Let's start with words we hear all the time and never even think about. Let's start with the word entertainment. To entertain. What does that mean? To bind or hold. To bind or hold what? An audience's attention. Okay, now let's take the word Hollywood. Where does that come from? Well, Hollywood comes from the holly tree. And the ancient druids, back in the day, used to take the holly tree, make wands to weave spells, cast spells, or channel spells. And when they needed help, they would consult the magi or the mediums of the day to help channel their spells to the population. We'll cut to today. What do we have in our houses? We have these black boxes. What are they called?
Let's go. TVs.
But if you stop and you say the word,
how did you know?
Television. And when you turn on that television, what do you get? What's the first thing that pops up? A list of channels. And when you turn on those channels, what's on those channels? Programming. They are programming you. They've been programming your whole life. You don't even know it. They do.
Now, I just want to say this. If I was creating some sort of method for brainwashing at the highest level of the government, what I would definitely do to keep my whole sinister plot under wraps is name every single aspect and product after those methods of brainwashing. I would, I would not call the television. I would certainly not call the television the phono screen. I would certainly not call a channel. I don't even know. I honestly don't even know. These are like the most basic words possible. There's not even let me know how to even go there.
Yeah, man. It's coming soon to a channel near you is the latest CIA programming called "This Is a Brainwashing Program." It's available for 3 seasons. It's streaming.
Jared, did you ever think about this for a second? They call those two things in our face where we see eyes, and they have their eyes on you. I don't even know what I'm doing there, but
it all makes sense.
There you go.
With your music, they do it with your TV, they do it with your movies, they do it with your games. They have been programming us and programming you since you were little, and you don't even know it because you don't even question it.
The allegory of the cave.
So we're in some deep philosophy now.
Oh boy. We got pyramids, Stonehenge, yeah.
Starting in 1900, we entered a previously unimaginable time of modern technology. Advances that allowed the...
Well, I mean...
One of these things is not like the other.
Right. So they're showing us, for people listening just to podcast, so far so good with the audio of it. Everything's been explained via both visuals and audios, but now we're getting to some charts and graphs and timeline visuals here. We have, where are we starting here? It's like, let me get to it again. Where I have to rewind a little bit. So we start with a timeline that starts at the founding of Paramount Motion Pictures.
Starting in 1900, we entered a
So we got 1912 Paramount Studios, major thing, followed by World War I as the next major event. And after World War I, as we all know, the next major event is RCA Radio, Warner Brothers, and NBC Radio all being founded. So
right, these are all the same thing.
Right, this is what we learn in our history books. This is what we learn in the textbooks. Our American history. I clearly remember learning about Paramount Studios' founding and then segueing to Franz Ferdinand.
Yeah, same thing, man.
The unimaginable time of modern technology. Advances that allowed the rulers of this world to construct and direct our stories in ways we previously never imagined. As a result, new techniques to control the population.
Wait a minute. They forgot they forgot World War. They
gets like a.
Is it even there? Did they? Oh,
yeah,
right.
It's down at the bottom.
It's at the bottom. We're covering it. Right. I gotta go back a little bit. I'll put it lower so people don't hear us going through it all again. I gotta see where World War II comes into this. Yeah, World War II is just a footnote compared to these mass media conglomerates. Which, okay, if that's what they'd like to go with. All right, we got Columbia, NBC Radio, RKO, 20th Century Fox, NBC TV, CBS TV, World War II, ABC Radio, okay.
The CIA.
CIA, right.
The CIA, which is founded like decades later.
Right.
Before like major motion picture outfits.
Right. Yeah. This is usually how we put things on an American history timeline. The founding of media conglomerates and major wars. Those are the two things that they put together. I mean, listen, I there is something to the idea that the media pushes these, especially modern media with the Iraq War has pushed these wars and whatever. But right. This is taking that to a level of parody to the point where you actually demean the serious point you could make between the connection of media and going to war.
Right, yeah, that's the thing, is like you get, like if you listen to the way they explain some of this stuff, like in the beginning, it's like, okay, you're getting there, and then it just like, I don't know, Matt, that's the perfect way to put it. It's just like parody to the point where it like cheapens the whole thing.
Yeah, it demeans the actual point.
There's a lot to be said about like how the media manufactures consent, how it drives political narratives, how it, sort of puts its thumb on the scales for what's going to happen in a civil society. But yeah, this is too much, man. It's too much. They went too hard.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be a QAnon film if they didn't go too hard, would it?
These are the people from the companies that we have trusted to deliver us our news and tell our stories. This has always been about controlling what we as the population think and hear.
Looking to see which YouTube channels get a shout out here. Society. I saw the Real News.
We as citizens only trust them because as a society, we think that the gatekeepers have our best interest in mind.
TYT, Slate, Mother Jones, MSNBC, here we go.
Here are that he's trying to undermine the media, trying to make up his own facts. And it could be that while unemployment and the economy worsens, he could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think. And that is our job. That is our job. That is our job. Our job.
As I was researching, I found that most of the early communication companies were developed for shipping or aviation. And a lot of the men that started these companies were commissioned by the military.
I've found something to have solidarity with these guys with, and that's hating on Morning Joe. So congratulations, QAnon.
Yeah,
we have something.
I love that the liberal cable news network starts with a conservative morning talk show. That's always awesome.
Right. Well, to also be fair to these guys, very hard to find the liberal program on MSNBC nowadays. There's maybe a 1 or 2 hour block that I could name that is an actual liberal news program on MSNBC nowadays. But I digress. Not the point of this particular program.
During World War I and World War II. Many of these men worked for the Army and Navy intelligence services, along with the OSS, which we know became the CIA. There were many examples of these men becoming the heads or founders of some of the biggest motion picture and media companies before and after their government or military service.
Oh, hold on. I just got to shout out Don Suenos in the chat here on YouTube for really breaking this down here. Think about this, Jared. Mika, lose the vowels. What do you get?
MK. Oh my god. That's a good comment, man.
There you go, man. MK Ultra, right? Yeah.
I wanted to know how many of the media companies in today's world connected back to Washington. So I started looking. It was like a family tree. The connections between our government personnel and the media corporations was unbelievable. Google, Amazon, Netflix, Twitter, CNN, ABC. So what would happen if all these companies had the same political ideology or agenda?
Wait, how do you make this film in 2019 or 2020 and the most recent president, it looks like he's connecting to the media, is Barack Obama? I mean, don't get me wrong. You can easily throw Barack Obama in this conspiracy. I got no problem with that. But weird that you leave out the literal reality TV show president out of this media connections between government and Hollywood graph here. This is huge. This is, what is that that GIF everyone uses? What's his face from oh my god, I'm having a mental block. The show on FX. I'm really having Always Sunny in Philadelphia. There's that GIF everyone uses where it's all the wire, the connections on the wall.
The Pepe Silva thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Weird that I don't see Trump on this. I'm really looking hard. It's really big and convoluted. Do you see Trump there, Jared? I can't.
No, man. If they put Trump on there, if they use a recent example, like, the audience for this film will abandon them.
They do get the Bilderberg meetings in there though, which I got. Good job there, guys.
We as this population like to hear people confirm our confirmation biases. We like to hear people tell us that we're right. We don't like to be wrong. And we believe that the people on the media and the people that we're listening to have our best interests in mind. The problem is what if they don't? So if you stop and think about it, they can place any agenda on the population.
We got a Comet Pizza visual.
I think that Hollywood is teaching bad morals to the youth of this country, as well as adults. Desensitizing of violence to the masses. You can't deny that. My kids have seen so many people get killed in very violent ways.
3 times as much gun violence now.
And the sex that's in PG-13 movies.
Why?
Every Disney movie, there's a major character, usually a parent, that gets killed. Trauma to the child. Why? It's so horrible. What a bad story. Why do you need to start a story with a parent dying? Always. It's so sad.
Under MK Ultra, they experimented on children. We were even taught this in psychophysiology program that if you get to a child between ages 1 and 6 or 1 or 8, especially with sexual abuse or sexual trauma, you will split their personality and they will be imprinted the rest of their life. And many times that results in split personalities and dissociative behavior and other things.
Okay, for people who are listening to the podcast, they're showing, you've probably seen these before. All that weird
subliminal
messaging that people say are in Disney films. For example, on the cover of the Little Mermaid VHS tape or whatever, there's long been that rumor that one of the spires on the Mermaid King's castle looks like a dick, looks like a penis. There were some ones in here that I haven't seen, like apparently Mufasa's face in the clouds can be outlined as the hourglass figure of a woman. I did not notice that ever. Nor did I notice that, was it Rapunzel's hair spells out the word sex? I did not ever notice that. But one thing I want to really point out here is that these guys seem to have a real thing for Disney. I get it because Disney is such a big conglomerate, but their thing about Disney is sort of weird because it's not focusing on the money these guys, Disney has, and this sort of, how they have done what they, basically they've rewritten the copyright rules basically so they control Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse should be in the public domain by now. They literally have single-handedly basically changed the copyright rules in this country to allow them to keep making money off Mickey Mouse. Their real hang-up here is that Bambi's mom gets killed in Bambi. I mean, listen, I too find that scene to be very difficult and very sad. But truthfully, I don't find the political or conspiratorial connection here. I don't think there is a take to be had. Do you have one, Jared?
No, I don't think so, actually.
All right, let's see if they got any Guardians of the Galaxy take. I'd like to see how it rolls into all this.
These occult topics are being introduced to our kids, and most parents aren't even aware of it. So the biggest surge with this occult type material took place in the late 60s and the early 70s with movies like The Exorcist, Amityville Horror, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, and Roman Polanski's Rosemary's Baby. And coincidentally, this same time period, it parallels the rise of the Church of Satan in Los Angeles, and it was founded by a guy named Anton LaVey.
Some satanic imagery of this guy.
I'm sick and tired of these documentaries putting satanic imagery in front of our face.
Right. Are they trying to turn me into a Satanist?
In the colleges, they're in the government, and they're in Hollywood.
I got to meet people like Sammy Davis and that kind of shit. Sammy told me he worshiped the devil. Sammy was like, Satan is as powerful as God. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? He says, why do you think there's so much anger in the world and killing and murder and the Satan? And he saw my reaction to it, and he kind of lightened up on it. And he was like, the Dantana is dark, and it's the candles on the table, and Sammy's face over the candle. Satan is as powerful as God.
From our point of view, it really makes no difference whether you pray to a father god or to a mother goddess or to an entire gaggle of gods and goddesses.
Michael Aquino was a high-level officer in the National Security Agency. He was and is, you'll see him today, a practicing Satanist. He created the Satanic
Temple. What's up with those eyebrows?
He's got some sick-ass eyebrows, man. I am
NSA officer.
Respect for that.
Association I used to be in, the Association of Former Intelligence Officers, AFIO. He's a member of that. He's plugged in big time to the intelligence community. And
I mean, if you were to tell me that there was a Satanist in the military, I believe that's what they said, right? He was a military guy. If you were to tell me that there was a Satanist in the military, and you were portraying this in a movie, and you showed me your character design for that character, and you gave him those eyebrows, I would say, you got to be kidding me. This is too on the nose. This is ridiculous.
Right.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, reality would never pass in a writer's room.
No one would think. There'd be no question whether this guy was the devil incarnate himself, actually, if he was an individual who had these eyebrows. I also want to point out this guy, Brad Martin, the stuntman who, not the guy who made the documentary, the one who basically he went to to double check, and this guy basically dug him in because, wow, if one stuntman thinking these things, that could be an aberration, but two stuntmen, no way, this is the real deal. This guy was one who went on that whole Disney rant and how terrible Hollywood is. And I wanted to see, if you're making this documentary and you think these things, how it's really so horrible and destroying the minds of our children, and it's created this whole ill to society. I'm assuming once you became woke, you would leave the industry, right?
Yeah, I don't know if his friend left the industry.
The guy who made the documentary, I don't know. Do you know that one?
Well, he said it in the beginning. He got injured.
Right. Well,
So-
the other guy, the guy he went to who convinced him that he was correct in all this belief.
I don't know if he still does work in Hollywood.
Don't worry, Jared. I'm a professional here. I'm always the consummate professional. I looked this up as we were watching this film, and we will enjoy Brad Martin's stunt work in the upcoming Falcon and Winter Soldier series on Disney Plus. We will also enjoy his work in Avatar 2, also owned by the Disney company. And this year we'll be seeing him in Bad Boys for Life and Greenland. Now, I'm not sure who owns those movies, but he's going to be in a Disney Plus series and an upcoming Disney franchise. So,
Sorry, I only allow myself to be cast on Cabal free studio lots.
Right. So, Disney, horrible, terrible, but they're paying my bills. So, I'll keep taking that money.
Wrote a paper called Mind War, and Mind War was about psychological operations against populations, including the domestic population, using Satanist techniques and tools.
Aquino was first involved in Mkultra operations during the Vietnam War as part of the Phoenix program.
No, first, I've been involved in intelligence and psychological operations for about 40 years in all levels of it and across the intelligence community.
You are a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army.
Correct.
Now, and how does the Army feel about you being head of the Temple of Set?
The Army has known about my religion for the entire span of my Army career, which began in 1968. The Army has paid very little attention to it, the same as it would to anybody who was, say, a follower of Hinduism or of Buddhism or any other slightly unusual religion today.
He occupied a position at the Presidio, which was a training facility for the U.S. government, and it was uncovered that he was running a pedophile ring. I think 50 kids came out and fingered him as the guy that had done sexual acts on them as children.
Interesting use of the word fingered him.
He walked from the trial successfully because he had a good attorney, despite the fact that there were multiple witnesses that said Aquino, through satanic rituals, had abused them as children. There's no question that he's a practicing Satanist. Just watch any one of his interviews.
On this altar is one of a number of daggers, which we may use in our rituals. This one happened to belong to the commanding general of the most elite unit.
Yeah, I want to know more about this guy. I didn't actually know about this guy before this.
Yeah. I feel like I'm going to look into this and then get red pilled or something.
We're actually going to find out that he's like completely normal other than like this performative Satanism, It's going to be something so like...
View of the occult held
he's going to be such a boring guy.
Was of an evil magic
I like
that
Satanism and
create
also
a new
like
master race.
riding bikes.
Wewelsburg Castle is where he performed his ceremonies.
I have been to the Wewelsburg, which still preserves Heinrich Himmler's ritual chambers to this day, and have conducted a black magical ritual in the so-called Hall of the Dead beneath the Wewelsburg. This particular dagger is inscribed to our comrade in the Leibstandarte Theodor Wisch, Brigadeführer, a major general in the Waffen-SS. And on its blade, it bears the inscription, Mein Ehre heißt Treu, or my honor shall be known by my faithfulness.
Aquino's thesis stated that enemy populations could be subdued by inflicting a state of psychological terror and feelings of imminent destruction. He discusses the use of psychotronic weapons and electromagnetic weapons that influence the mind. By extremely low-frequency signals, piggybacked on broadcasts of radio, TV, or microwave communications in order to influence and manipulate the thoughts and feelings of the target population. These ongoing Mkultra operations are functioning as a counterinsurgency and infiltration operation aimed at destabilizing the United States and other industrialized nations.
I give the CIA a total credit for sponsoring and initiating the entire consciousness movement, counterculture events of the 1960s.
History will judge the role of the CIA and other intelligence agencies in unwittingly contributing to the counterculture of the 60s through their intense interest in LSD and other hallucinogenics. But for the moment at least, the argument can be made that the CIA helped usher in the age of Aquarius.
So now we have the psychedelic movement.
Well, Canyon was the
I mean, I feel like
Summer of Love. I mean,
that's very cliche to go from that, from where we just were to here.
It's odd because in Laurel Canyon, so
Right.
many of the soon-to-be stars there, their parents were in either the military-industrial complex or intelligence or the Pentagon. In Frank Zappa's case, his dad was working at Edgewood Arsenal, where they were doing biochem studies, psychotropic, and exposing U.S. troops to VX nerve gas and other things. The family kept gas masks in their house. He grew up with that in case there was an accident. And Edgewood Arsenal was doing this very similar, related MK-Ultra projects on U.S. troops. The Gulf of Tonkin is another prime example. The commander of the Gulf Fleet in the Gulf of Tonkin, his son was Jim Morrison. They claimed the USS Maddox was attacked by Vietnamese vessels. It was never attacked. As a matter of fact, they put ghost ships on the radar to make it look like they were Vietnamese ships. The Maddox was never attacked. It was an actual, literal false flag.
They definitely don't have the rights to some of this music.
War on Vietnam.
Yeah. No,
So Jim Morrison's dad was involved in the false flag of the Gulf of Tonkin.
After talking to Kevin, I started looking into Laurel Canyon. I drove down Laurel Canyon to Hollywood almost daily when I first moved out there. And I never knew that there was an old Air Force base called Lookout Mountain U.S. Air Force Base at the top of Laurel Canyon. And what's funny is, if you do the history of it, it's owned today by a guy named Jared Leto.
Another tactic
Well,
developed out of the
I will say this. Again, solidarity with anyone who wants to talk shit about Jared Leto. I am here for it.
Ultra project was the use of compromise and control via honeypots.
The decision was made to do testing on unwitting victims. It was decided they should be on the fringes of society because they were most vulnerable.
We did quite a study of prostitutes and their behavior. How do you take a woman who is willing to use her body to get money out of a guy to get him to talk about things which are much more important, like state secrets? We learned a lot about human nature in the bedroom. We started to pick up knowledge that could be used in operations.
There would be victims in all of this. As one agency memo says, we have no answer to the moral question.
That's one of the CIA's favorite tactic, are honeypots. And I work with CIA psychologists, and they're dirty.
I always felt that every house should have its own secret panel.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see. You lift this up.
Mm-hmm. This is a trap door. Opens up and looks into the cave, or what time is called the Wu Grotto.
Oh, boy.
They're running blackmail operations where they're getting very well-known government and private industry elite.
Did anyone check the floor of the basement of Comet Pizza, Jared? Do you know that?
I don't know if any of the Pizzagate people did, but I've had dinner there before. It's actually a very solid restaurant. If anybody wants to visit.
You would have dinner at Comet Pizza, Jared. But
as far as I know, I didn't see a basement. I don't think, or at least not one that was visible.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. You trying to tell me there's not a basement at the Comet Pizza in D.C., Jared? What's next? You gonna tell me there's not a basement in the Alamo?
I don't think there's a basement. I certainly didn't see one when I was there.
Well, if there's not a basement,
then again, I wasn't scouring the premises, being like, "Where's the basement? Where's the basement?"
If there's not a basement, Jared, then someone needs to check the floor of the main level of the one level of Comet
They
Pizza.
just start ripping up floorboards.
Because yes, as we just saw in this documentary, there are hidden contraptions in the floor. And who knows? You open up that Comet Pizza secret doorway, and there just might be a pool filled with sexy women inside that door.
All right, I'll go there tonight, man. We're going to figure this out.
Positions at the Playboy Mansion, on Epstein's plane, on Orgy Island, and they're photographing them.
Finally,
That,
we're at
like
Epstein.
Congressman so-and-so or CEO
Yeah, man, it
so-and-so.
only took, what, 45
I wouldn't
minutes?
bring that up if I was you.
Pretty
because
close,
we got
actually.
Photographs
Yeah.
of you
47.
with a 14-year-old girl on Epstein's plane, for example. And you talk about shutting somebody up permanently, that's how they do it.
What happens in the grotto stays in the grotto.
Okay.
Look, it's pretty simple if you think about it. To control the population, you have to control the people messaging the population. Some of these stars have 20, 30 million followers. That's more followers than CNN, Fox, ABC, NBC. These people have to be controlled. They can't just go off a message and start saying whatever they want to say.
Wait.
Yeah, it's called PR, dude. It's called, like...
Well, first of all, why...
If Katy Perry, who you'll see pictured in this documentary a ton, if she went off her rocker and started just talking about, like, the deep state pedos or whatever, you think she'd still keep her fans or not?
Right.
Like, she's not running her own Twitter account. She's not doing any of that shit, man.
Right.
Like, this is all a big PR thing. It's like they're discovering the woes of capitalism, but they, like, think it's pedophiles instead. You know?
Right. You know, I also like how they believe that the media controls everything, but can't get more followers than these pop stars. But also the idea that it wouldn't make sense to them that, there are actually a lot more people who listen to music and watch movies and TV shows than there are who follow cable news every second of the day. Like, yeah, there are more people who care about entertainment than care about watching about all the shit that goes on. I mean...
Watching Chris Salissa be like, who's the winner this week and who is the loser? You know, yeah, maybe like that many people don't care about it, honestly.
Right. Well, let's get into... I'm going to see more Katy Perry, and I'll tell you, whenever I want my Katy Perry fix in the future, I'll know to come to Out of Shadows.
They have to be somewhat reined in. They have to be controlled, or they do not get the platform to have the voice that they have.
Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice.
Man, they really love this guy.
You have no choice. You have owners.
It's really too bad George Carlin's dead, because if he was alive, they would absolutely hate him, because he would pretty much set straight what they believe about him.
Right. If George Carlin was alive and you were able to ask him, like, what do you think about these QAnon people that are, like, heralding you as, like, the prophet? What do you think of these, like, InfoWars people being like, this guy totally understood it? He'd be like, fuck those people, man. They're terrible.
Right.
Awful, stupid people.
Right.
And
well, poor George Carlin.
They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the ball. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
I mean, we all know how powerful the media industry is, because if they were this guy speaking truth to power, we see what happened to him. He never got bigger than a tiny little indie comedian, just worked at Brooklyn bars and in California improv halls. You know, he never really made it to the mainstream, never really blew up as a comic, this poor guy.
You and I are not in the big club. By the way, it's the same big club they used to beat you over the head with all day long, when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hard-working people, white collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. Good, honest, hard-working people continue. These are people of modest means. Continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't care about you at all, at all, at all. Man, you know? And nobody seems to notice, nobody seems to care. That's what the owners count on, the fact that Americans will probably remain willfully ignorant because the owners of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it.
If you stop for a second and you just look at the bigger picture and you check out for a minute and you kind of compare the ancient times to today, well, back then they had like what, demigods and gods. They were like Achilles, Hercules,
Oh, this part's awesome.
Apollo, Mercury, all these were demigods. And that's who the people in those days looked up to. Well, today we have all these people like Jay-Z, Rihanna, Beyonce, Lady Gaga, Katy Perry. In film, we have Brad Pitt, Will Smith. We have all these big stars. And the way they prop them up and they put them up on stage is like they're gods or demigods.
In this room are some of the most important TV and film executives in the world, people from every background, but they all have one thing in common. They're all terrified of Ronan Farrow. He's coming for you. He's coming for you. Look, talking of all you perverts, it was a big year. It was a big year for paedophile movies. Surviving R. Kelly, Leaving Neverland, Two Popes. Shut up. Shut up. I don't care. I don't care.
Most people don't want to cross the psychological line that this stuff is going on. And we all have a mental defense mechanism. It's like finally admitting there's an elite pedophile ring. I mean, most people just don't want to go there. And the same is here. Psychologically, you lose your safety, your security, and whatever innocence you have when you realize that this stuff is...
Wait, are you saying you want to go to visit the global pedophile ring?
going on, and it's a chore to cross over that barrier and realize, oh my gosh, this stuff is really happening. And that's why it takes critical thinking. The people have got to look at this stuff critically and see what they're being fed so they can cross that psychological line that they just refuse to see it when it's right in front of them.
When Kevin said there's an elite pedophile ring, well, I'm thinking to myself, this is a hard thing for me to come to terms with. Now, it made me start thinking about conversations and things I'd heard, but I'd never saw it. It's not out in the open. And to me, I was like, no one could do that. Because, I mean, if I saw someone hurting a kid, I would kill them. I mean, I would literally kill them. I would never allow someone to hurt a child in front of me. Things Kevin was saying were things that were hard for me to cross the barrier. I did not want to believe it. I didn't want to go there. But as I went down this journey, I forced myself to go consider, what if this is real? And the only person that was talking about this stuff was a girl named Liz Crokin. And the media had declared her completely out of her mind.
Here we go. Time out.
The media declared her completely out of her mind. Cue image of her looking absolutely nuts and insane. I mean, they couldn't have found a more crazy-eyed image of this person. I mean...
Right. So Liz Crokin has had a very long career. What you will hear about it as she recounts it. And she actually does a pretty decent, like, accurate recounting of her career. Except she doesn't understand that, like, being a Pizzagate person is a bad thing. But she has claimed all kinds of stuff. She is one of the people who, like, project, like, in 3 weeks, mass arrests are happening. QAnon and the president and whatever are going to round up all the pedophiles, and they're getting thrown in jail 1 month. That's all you need. It's just wrong constantly. Claims that people like Tom Hanks are a pedophile. People like Michelle Obama is a pedophile. Like, all kinds of just absurd, like, claims and accusations of, like, terrible, terrible, awful stuff that seemingly just, like, comes out of her head. She just, like, pulls it out of her ass and claims this. I'm kind of surprised she hasn't been sued at this point, but...
Hey, there's
I
still
think
time.
part of that,
Still time.
I don't know. I think part of that would have to, like, you would have to prove that by Liz Crokin saying these things, it cost you like real damage, and I don't know if that's provable or not.
Right. Right. Well, I want to get to this comment in the chat because I thought it was pretty a good observation here. That whole Ricky Gervais scene where he was speaking the forbidden language of Hollywood by bringing up this whole pedophilia stuff. Zach M on the YouTube chat points out that, this stuff was so edgy and really ripping the mask off of everything. It was so much like that they invited him back multiple times to host the show. I mean, he's done, I think, 5 Golden Globes awards, I think.
Or think about this. It was so edgy. He knows the truth. So they have to give him the gigs. Otherwise, he'll go public with it all.
Yes. Because national television on an award show watched by tens of millions of people, definitely not public enough.
Right. And that's not scripted at all. No one is reviewing what's going to be said.
Right. It's not like there's a team of writers behind some of those comments.
There's not like 50 lawyers involved with the show.
Right. All right. Well, I really want to see what Liz is up to. So let's get to her. I can't believe they held her stuff for the end. I mean, way to save the best for last. Really now. I mean, 52 minutes in. We only got, I think 20 minutes left. And
yeah, we got like 25 minutes of the film left.
Yeah, and we're just getting to Liz now. Well, let's do this. Let's make the best of this Liz
I started
part.
researching some of the things she was reporting on. I was like, there's truth to what she's saying. So I want to talk to her.
I started working in journalism at a very young age. I got my first job working for Fox Chicago at about the age of 17 years old.
At the
University of
innocent
Iowa, I studied political science and journalism. One semester, I interned for Bill O'Reilly at Fox News Channel. My last year in college, I interned for the State Department's White House reporter, and that placed me reporting in the White House every single day for a few months. I went on to work for the Chicago Tribune, and my first boss there told me that everything that I should get should be checked over and over and over again and verified to death. That's how I was trained, and that's what a true, honest journalist does. I started covering local politics and local hard news, and then eventually I got my own column for 7 years where I interviewed tons of celebrities and politicians and musicians and worked at Us Weekly, and then at one point I worked at In Touch Weekly magazine. But then in 2015, I felt the need to get back into covering hard news, and in early 2016 I started working for Town Hall, and then eventually I started working for the New York Observer and broke a lot of election related stories. I worked in media for over 2 decades, and I never had any issues. I was very well respected. I basically was embraced by the mainstream media until I started reporting on Pizzagate.
That would certainly do it. I mean,
Pizzagate.
I don't know what you were expecting here.
Pizzagate
or fiction.
came out. The media tried to turn Pizzagate into something that wasn't.
Surprises of the presidential campaign was the...
Hold on. People tried to turn Pizzagate into something that wasn't? I mean, that sounds like how you would describe what was going on in Pizzagate. I mean, they found WikiLeaks published emails from John Podesta's email account, and people were basically combing over them and realized that, this guy sure loves pizza. It must mean it's code word for children. So, I mean, I don't know where else to go there other than that is an apt description of Pizzagate itself.
Yeah, here, I'm gonna use the restroom real quick.
Oh, go
but
ahead.
You keep going. I've seen this movie twice already.
This sounds like a good part to go take a piss, to be quite frank.
News on the internet.
28-year-old Edgar Welch was arrested in Washington Sunday afternoon outside Comet Ping Pong, a popular family pizza parlor. D.C. police say Welch fired at least one round into the restaurant floor with an AR-15 rifle like this one on his Facebook page. No one was injured.
Someone on Twitter, whose name remains unverified but has several thousand followers, posted that new emails found on Anthony Weiner's computer confirmed that Hillary Clinton was involved in a pedophilia ring. The rumor spread, inspiring some newfound internet sleuths to start digging around in John Podesta's hacked emails, searching for proof and location of the so-called sex ring.
In those emails, they are absolutely littered with code words. And many of these code words are food words, such as pizza.
Somebody said to me, "Hey Dave, search for pizza in Podesta's emails. And once you go down that rabbit hole, you never really emerge the same person."
It was obvious from the get-go that these words were code words for something else, because the...
I don't think obvious from the get-go is the appropriate... what is Jared doing? What was he... What, did he forget to close the door? All right, well, don't worry about it. I'll put his mic down for now. I don't know if it's obvious from the get-go that pizza were code words. Does anyone with a mind think that from the get-go? I don't know about that. What else did I want to bring up right here? Oh. I don't think that stuff was actually in the WikiLeaks stuff. There was this weird thing that happened when these WikiLeaks emails came out where people were basically posting their own versions of this. There was any explicit WikiLeaks released email that said anything of the sort in terms of child pedophile rings or anything like that. Literally where this all came from were the mentions of pizza. And the idea that people running a presidential campaign, working probably close to, round the clock 24/7, especially if you're a high level campaign, not a presidential campaign, they wouldn't go for the easiest, quickest, most, mobile food to eat. You could literally walk around holding a slice of pizza. Yeah, you eat a lot of pizza on the campaign trail. Very quick, easy food. Can't believe these guys are making me defend John Podesta. But as my pop said on the stream here, he asked if isn't QAnon the birthplace? Isn't Pizzagate the birthplace of QAnon? Yeah, it is. It is sort of like that. That's one way to put it. I sort of explained it once on the Majority Report as QAnon is now like the conspiracy theory incubator. All the conspiracy theories basically now somehow have, far-right conspiracies, I should say, now sort of have this connection to QAnon at the get-go, and QAnon helps these individual conspiracy theories, because of the QAnon connection, flourish. All right, let's go back to the... welcome back, Jared.
Hey, good to be back. We should just redo the whole intro. Yeah, it's great to be on Doomed again.
Right,
man.
and let's rewind the movie and start back at the very beginning.
The text that they were used in did not make sense.
To be clear, not one single email in the Podesta emails discusses child sex trafficking or pedophilia.
Like I just said, yes.
That is a fact. But there are dozens of what seem to be strangely worded emails dealing with pizza and handkerchiefs. Investigators say that those words in the emails about pizza and the talk of handkerchiefs is code language used by pedophiles.
There is some kind of code language. They're just not talking about pizza, folks. Who phrases that?
Not just
Who
people
blocks
on the
out an
internet.
hour of time to eat a slice of pizza?
Because they're not... Oh, my
Lunch
God.
break.
Yes, it's a lunch break. My God, no one is taking an hour to eat a slice of pizza. Would love to get pizza for an hour, meaning I have an hour to meet with you during my lunch break, in which I would like pizza during. Yes.
Yeah.
My God. Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
You can get a service for a half an hour, you can get a massage for a half an hour, but you can't get food for a half an hour. It just absolutely makes no sense.
That is literally the regular allotted lunch break for the majority of workplaces in the United States of America. Literally 30 minutes to 60 minutes if you're in office. Usually it's 30 minutes if you're in like the service industry or something like that, and an hour for an office place setting. This is the most basic common knowledge I can possibly think of. Liz.
Yeah, not like industry just like formats itself around lunch hour.
It is so. I would love to know how long Liz gets for her lunch break, and then I would like to question why she's taking so long to eat. I don't know. She's a QAnon follower, so a well done steak with ketchup.
There's other ones like the realtor found a handkerchief. I think it has a map that seems pizza related. And another one is Obama spent $65,000 flying in pizza and hot dogs from Chicago. Are we using the same channels?
Pizza is a well-known pedophile code word that actually has been used by law enforcement to arrest online sexual predators of children. And there's been
It's time out. Like, these people get so deep in their rabbit holes, and it all starts with like the dumbest fucking assumption. Like, for them just to be like, pizza, pedophile, and like they just accept that as truth. You can't change it. That's what it is. This has been associated with this thing before in some context, but that is the context here. Like, the only way this works is if you already believe that these people are pedophiles and you're just looking for proof.
Right. And
like no good faith analysis comes to this conclusion.
Right, and also in their own. Yes, I have seen that the cheese pizza is used for CP child porn before, but you clearly need to use that exact framing of the word cheese pizza, and also it needs to be within context. I mean,
right. I mean, like, listen, if the John Podesta emails did show proof of like pedophilia or like child pornography, absolutely, man. I'm not gonna stop anyone from like busting down the door and like throwing this dude in jail, right? But there just simply isn't, like, it's not there. There is no there.
Right. I mean, you really think I want to sit here and defend Hillary Clinton's former presidential campaign manager? I mean,
no, fuck that guy, dude.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, listen, it would be very funny to me if he was arrested for something ridiculous. Obviously, child pornography is not ridiculous, but I mean, if he was arrested for something that he was doing that was illegal, that was obviously, not child porn. Although maybe that would be sort of ironic if he was too. But that being said, if there was any truth to this, I would be right on board with you guys and say the authorities should look into this. But the pizza in an email is not proof of anything. And yeah, Obama sent pizza from Chicago. Do you guys know that there's a thing where yes, it's an outrageous amount of money to spend on a pizza and ridiculous you would do this, but there's a whole thing where people of means actually do buy specific foods from specific places. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Chicago pizza before, but it's a little bit different than pizza you get anywhere else.
Yeah, and like people that have disposable amounts of money will get this food and put it on a fucking jet and fly it.
Right.
Because they have so much money that they can be God for the day.
Right.
Like, that is just...
We should also watch out, Jad, before people think we're talking about something specific about Chicago children.
By law
Chicago
enforcement
pizza.
Of pedophiles trying to solicit children.
That actually, we do have to be careful of that, because that actually is CP if we're using that.
Oh, no. All right, here, just hit play on the thing.
By using the pedophile
We're digging
code
ourselves in
word
a hole
pizza.
here.
2007, unclassified FBI document. That document, according to the FBI, contains commonly used symbols by pedophiles to express their preference in children. Notice this one on the end, the triangle. That image signifies something called boy love.
All right, let me also just point out this. That triangle symbol they're putting up on the screen has long also been these same conspiracy theorists' random musings on the Teletubbies character Tinky Winky because he has a triangle on his head. I mean, literally, this is where we're at right now. This is the level of conspiracy theory we're at. The idea that one of the most basic shapes that exist, any use of it would mean boy love or anything of the matter, is just absurd. It is clearly...
But remember what I was saying, like, at the beginning, before we, like, really got off on this documentary, I say in air quotes, is this starts from a place of, like, laying the groundwork with legit proven stuff, and then just very quickly, like, spins off the rails. Right. And we are in the spinning off the rails part of this.
Right. We're also at the point where this live stream is popping. I think people are really enjoying this part of the movie. YouTube.com/Matt Binder. Subscribe there if you're not already subscribed.
Give Matt some follows. We love Matt. We all love Matt.
All right. Thank you, Jared. Thank you. Now let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming.
The pizza place next door to Comet Ping Pong Pizza, Besta Pizza, well, this was their logo until only a few weeks ago.
People don't know that because the mainstream media refuses.
I gotta stop it.
Why does the mainstream media refuse to cover that? Why does the mainstream media not publish that, Matt?
I just gotta stop.
Is it because it's batshit crazy?
I just gotta stop it here, because the fact that a pizza place would use a triangle-shaped pizza, the international way that people cut their pizza, as their logo is not at all that shocking to me. I mean...
But you know what the triangle also is? Illuminati.
That's true. Or, I don't know how much of a wrestling fan you are, but...
Oh, I'm not.
Diamond Dallas Page, baby. DDP. Bang!
Yeah, that flew straight over my head.
That's okay. A lot of people in the chat will totally get it. And I will be... I will be vindicated.
Cover it.
The entire mainstream media redefined what Pizzagate was to make it sound ridiculous and less believable. And then they had people like Megyn Kelly come in, interview James Alefantis, didn't ask him any challenging questions.
A conspiracy theory that even the DC police say has no basis in fact.
She didn't ask him any questions about the pictures of children on his Instagram page looking abused, being sexualized. She didn't ask him about the pedophile talk. So the whole mainstream media painted him as this poor victim, as this person that was innocent, that was just victimized, as something that wasn't true. But just his Instagram page alone should have been enough for authorities to look into him.
No, that's not how that works,
no,
actually. Yeah. That's... I mean, you can...
I don't think this is like a strict constitutionalist here.
Right. I mean, you could say, I will also say that some of the stuff he posted on his Instagram, pretty ridiculous, pretty over the top, but at the same time...
Very weird, in my personal opinion.
Yes.
I could say that's like comfortably like not my shit.
Right.
But arrested? Investigated over that? No.
Yeah, I don't think that's how it works, Liz. I'm sure she's one of the first people who would cry all sorts of big government censorship if her tweets or Instagram posts got her investigated by the FBI or something. I'm sure of it.
Or no, man. She'd claim that if her Instagram post got like 10 less likes than a normal one does. Be like, shadow ban? Am I being... Oh my God, this is the deep state.
That's very true, yes.
Investigators have already proven there's nothing to the story, right? Well, actually, no. And that's what you need to know. For all that is here, there has not been one single public investigation of any of this, not from local police.
What happened to this Ben Swan guy? For people who are listening to just the podcast, they're showing clips.
Fired?
What is he doing anything today?
Actually, I think he was put on leave.
All right, so
which is like
for people who
the gentle way to fire somebody is put them on leave.
Right. For people who aren't
for like a month.
Right.
Then let everybody forget about him, and then cut him.
Right. For people who aren't familiar with this guy, Ben Swan, who they're using a lot in this documentary as some sort of proof that there were legitimate news outlets covering this stuff, he had a segment. Ben Swan was a local TV anchor, and he had a segment called Reality Check. And during the 2016 election season, and then obviously because of the Pizzagate coverage, the immediate aftermath of it, this guy fell deep into conspiratorial shit and used his little Reality Check segment on his local TV news program to do segments on these conspiracy theories. And he believed them full-heartedly, it seemed like, and he voiced his opinion in a way where he tried to still toe that line of not getting fired from his job and just asking questions to fully endorsing it, really. Just subtly doing it, though. But this guy would take these segments then and spread them online, and people would see the production value. It would look like a legit news organization did it because he was doing a short segment on an actual local TV channel. And they would be like, oh, they're covering this on the news. There must be some sort of basis for this. And I think this guy actually did a lot more harm than I think people may give him credit for, actually.
Yeah, I just found this guy on Twitter. See what he's up to now. And it seems like he just never stopped getting into the conspiracy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's still just discount InfoWars.
Right. I remember his stuff was always being passed around on Facebook because, on Twitter and YouTube, the audience is more open to these sort of person sitting in their room, vlogger type style videos, the live streams I do and stuff like that. But on Facebook, I specifically remember his stuff getting millions of views because it was being shared via his professional page, which was his personal professional page, but it was connected to the local outlet he was connected to. And also because the production value looks like a local news organization, which automatically lends some sort of authority to this content.
Right.
All right, let's jump back in here.
From the FBI, no one. And that has to be the big question. Not for Podesta or for pizza parlor owners, but for law enforcement. Based on what may be or may not be here, the big question is, why hasn't any investigation taken place?
This is insane.
So many people in the mainstream media have said Pizzagate is a conspiracy theory. Pizzagate has been debunked. It has not been debunked. If it's been debunked, explain the code words. No one to this day, including John Podesta himself.
Liz, I'll explain how it's been debunked while using the code words. There are no code words. They're talking about literal pizza. I don't know how else you debunk that other than there are no code words.
Right, this is a work email.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Listen. If
I was into child pornography, I would know enough not to get on my work email and be like, "Hey, what's up, fellas? You got?"
This is gonna get me into a lot of trouble because people will certainly find ways to clip just this part. But if you owned the servers, because you're the campaign manager, you have the full access to all this shit, you could easily wipe all these emails once it's all said and done. If you were a pedophile and you were sending these messages via your email that you have this the godlike admin privileges for, wouldn't just be like, hey, in an hour I'm gonna go fuck them kids? Really?
Oh no. Yeah, you need to hit play. We need to move on from here.
Can explain the code words in his emails.
Hey, John Podesta, can you please explain why you have children rented for entertainment for your adult hot tub parties? No one has ever explained why John Podesta has literal pedophile and cannibalism paintings all over his office and his home. Tony Podesta.
Okay, I will say that some of this art is very weird.
It's weird. It's very, very weird.
Very weird. And he did himself, I'm not blaming the victim, but he did himself no favors.
And then you look into the spirit cooking dinners, and you look into Marina Abramovic, who's the one that was conducting the spirit cooking dinners. Why are they going to spirit cooking dinners?
Oh, I forgot all about that. The spirit cooking dinners? Oh,
Yeah,
my
man.
God.
Again, super weird shit, right?
Right. Oh,
but,
my
like,
God.
Why are they
Not
sacrificing
criminal.
chickens to Moloch in their backyard? This isn't my words. This is their words. This is in their emails.
I'd be willing to debate anyone who thinks that Pizzagate has been debunked.
You asked me when.
All right, man. You know who your next podcast guest is.
I would have her on so quick. He is not even, I mean, it's so simple. I would totally have her on. It's really, I mean, she's one of those people who you can easily have on, and I think you can easily back her into a number of quarters because I don't think she's ever been. Has she ever done anything where speaking with someone?
She won't do a real debate, man.
Right. That's
like
what.
that's what all these people like Crokin say. They'll be like, "I'm down to debate. We'll hash out the facts." And then if you come up and it's like, "Oh, I would like to debate this. I think you're terribly wrong." It's like, "Oh, well, you're fake news, propaganda, Soros, whatever." Like, and they'll just dismiss you instead of like actually trying to like debate you.
I mean, the saddest thing is we could totally also talk shit about these ridiculous things that these rich people do because they think it's like artsy and cool or whatever when it's literally like some of the lamest shit you can possibly imagine. And like, that's fun to do. Like literally just make fun of them for being so corny and also criticize the idea that these people have all this fucking disposable money to just throw at this ridiculous, stupid, performative nonsense.
Yeah, and also just the fact that like having that much money and getting that rich like separates you from society in a way to where you just start getting interested in like weird shit.
Right.
Because if you can have everything you want immediately with like ultimate comfort, then you're like, you don't get a rush. Like I get a rush from going and having like a really wonderful meal at a restaurant. I'm just like, oh, that was so good. I'm in such a good mood. That's fantastic. But if every single meal you eat is like top tier restaurant quality, you start seeking out weird shit to get your fix.
Right.
Like that's just like a side effect of being crazy rich. You get so comfortable that you end up turning to the weird shit just to like feel something.
Right. And they don't even realize what they do. And this is something to criticize them for sure over, absolutely. And I'm not saying this to like, I don't know why I think people would think I'm feeling bad for them, but I just want to make it clear I'm not. They don't even realize how out of touch they are. For example, I just keep thinking of like, this is like a most basic example because I keep thinking about it. I've thought about it for weeks now. That clip, and I've mentioned it on the show, this is probably like the fifth time I've mentioned it on this show in the past like 4 episodes. That clip that Arnold Schwarzenegger put out when people first started isolating in their homes, with him sitting in his jacuzzi, smoking a cigar, telling everyone, hey, it's real simple. Just stay in your home. Is what's so hard about that? Like, they don't even realize like how out of touch they are with the most simplest of shit like that. So could you imagine how like oblivious they are to chopping off heads of goats and wearing them on their head or some shit like that?
Yeah, again, like we're not sitting here. We're trying to argue. Excuse me. We're not sitting here and trying to argue that these people aren't.
I'm gonna now decode whatever weird noise you just made and try to factor in the fact that that's you saying that the deep state is telling you that it's time to move on from the current discussion and not to blow their spot.
It's true. It's true. They're actually telling me to hit play and keep going on this film.
Here we go. Let's do it.
Additional briefings. That was the first and last time I talked.
So October 9th is the last time you have heard from the FBI at all?
Yes.
You have not got an update on the investigation to your personal email?
That is correct.
So not only did the mainstream media lie to you about Pizzagate, they actually told you that it was illegal to read John Podesta's emails on WikiLeaks. Chris Cuomo, with a straight face on CNN, looked into the cameras and said, it's illegal for you to read John Podesta's emails.
Also interesting is, remember, it's illegal to possess these stolen documents. It's different for the media. So everything you learn about this, you're learning from us.
Wait, she couldn't even accurately quote him.
Right.
When she was saying
Possessing stolen materials is illegal.
Is illegal, right? Reading it when it's distributed on the internet is in fact not illegal.
Right.
I was wondering when she was saying that, oh, did Chris Cuomo really say that? Because that'd be a really stupid thing to say, to tell people not to read the WikiLeaks emails because it's illegal to do. Because that's absolutely untrue.
That was my first thought too, which is like, did he say that?
Right. And
I hope he didn't say that.
Right. And then she did she not think they would play the clip? I mean, also did they not did they not realize they have the editing power to either not include her exact wording of her clip or to not include the Chris Cuomo clip? Because it completely, this woman, Liz, what's her last name again? I always forget it. It's Crokin, right.
Yeah.
I always want to say Crokin. I don't know why. Crokin. She is portraying herself as the very serious, legitimate journalist throughout this. And she couldn't accurately quote something that's played literally a second after she quotes it.
But the audience will not pick up on this. The target audience for this will not pick up. Because, like, what a film like this is really supposed to do is confirm what people already suspect or believe.
Right.
Like, people watching this film...
Confirmation bias, right? That's what it's called.
It is so hard for me to believe that, like, there was the thing about, like, oh, if we stream this, like, are we just amplifying this film? Are we doing... First off, the film has 8 million views, so we're not amplifying it. It's amplified already. But also, like, I just can't imagine a possible timeline where somebody who is like-minded to myself or you, or even just has, like, one foot in reality, watches this and is like, whoa, this got me, man. This is like... It's all true. I don't know. I can't imagine this film is convincing anybody of anything that they didn't already believe.
Right. I mean, did you see anyone say anything about us amplifying this? Because there is nothing I hate more than that argument. It's the most ridiculous argument ever. We literally cover this stuff, and yes, you need to show people what you're covering to properly let people know what's going on out there. And also, there's nobody watching this live stream who is listening to our commentary and saying, this movie's making a lot of great points. I mean, it's just not happening. I mean, I hate that argument. There's no one probably who's thought more about the positives and negatives of covering this stuff than people like you, me, and other people who cover the far right. And it's just clear that this is not amplification of this stuff.
Right.
I'm not even
That's like... It's just like the peanut gallery. You get that stupid shit, but like...
Right. I'm not even defending myself at this point because it's literally... I could care less what those people think because it is... Right. I just think the argument is ridiculous.
Right. They're on like the kindergarten level of this shit.
Right.
I don't know.
That's how scared they are of those emails, and that's how explosive the content in those emails are. That they felt the need that they had to tell you you could not read those emails, and if you do, you might get arrested. Lie.
That is not what he said.
For the media, so everything you learn about this, you're learning from us.
Ridiculous.
People that blow the whistle on elite pedophiles tend to have accidents. And a lot of those people have died mysteriously.
NBC News has learned that disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein is dead. Epstein took his own life while he was behind bars.
I get what she's saying. I get what people are talking about when they say, Epstein didn't kill himself. Is that he had information about other people who rode on his airplane and went to his private island. And I totally get that. And that's something where the left actually also agrees there's something a bit odd there. Because, yes, it is a bit odd. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to say that. But the people she's talking about she's talking about people who are to be sort of, feel bad. Oh, why were they snuffed out? Because they had this information. Maybe not the best place to place Epstein if you're making this, making this video. Epstein is not really a tragic figure to worry about in terms of, they took him out. Oh man, poor guy.
Can't believe it, man. He's one of the good ones.
He just wanted to get that info out.
Use of this. What happened here, to me, is mind-boggling. The guy was a high-risk prisoner, wasn't he? I mean, he's a guy that there are probably 50 very important people that have a motive to kill him. We don't even know who they are. It's true. But we know there are some people that are in a lot of trouble because of Epstein. They know who they are.
His flight logs contain names of some of the biggest, most famous, and most powerful people on the planet. Members of the royal family, Prince Andrew, models like Naomi Campbell, famous actors like Kevin Spacey, Bill Clinton on those flight logs over 25 times. Hillary Clinton, she's also been to the islands. So the bigger question is, how many people that went on his private jet, that went to his private island, that went to his massive ranch in New Mexico were also involved in the rape, torture, and trafficking of children?
Just want to say, I feel like she's left out a very important, relevant individual in the list of people on Epstein's flight logs. I mean, I feel like there's some.
Wait, who was that? Who could that be?
The name is on the tip of my tongue. I feel like. I feel like he's in a position, very high power position.
Yeah, he seems like a
world leader type. Head of a nation.
There's been a lot of coverage of that guy.
Right. I feel like, it's someone we see on TV literally every day around, give or take 5:30, maybe 6 sometimes.
Dr. Anthony Fauci.
There we go. That's who it was. Thank you, Jared. We finally cracked it.
In plain sight. Epstein was hiding in plain sight. We all knew about him. We all knew what he was doing. But we had no one that was, legal aspect that would go after him. They were afraid of him. For whatever reason, they were afraid of him.
And the amazing thing about Cindy McCain is that her husband was a senator. She was on a board with the governor of Texas. She knew about Jeffrey Epstein. She did nothing. And her organization, the role of her organization is supposed to be to stop people like Jeffrey Epstein. They all knew.
Wait. Time out. So because Cindy McCain was on the board of an organization with, who'd you say, someone in Texas? Some authority in Texas?
Do you want me to rewind?
So, no, it's fine.
I rewound it. It's 20 seconds. Let's listen to this.
Plain sight. Epstein was hiding in plain sight. We all knew about him. We all knew what he was doing. But we had no one that was, legal aspect that would go after him. They were afraid of him. For whatever reason, they were afraid of him.
And the amazing thing about Cindy McCain is that her husband was a senator. She was on a board with the governor of Texas. She knew about Jeffrey Epstein. She did nothing. And her organization, the role of her organization is supposed to be to stop people like Jeffrey Epstein. They all knew. They did nothing about it. When Ricky Gervais said,
wait, hold on. I just want to, hold on. This is,
what a pivot.
I didn't mean to pause it right there because that is I might have to just rewind it a couple of seconds. But I just want to point out that when she says Cindy McCain is on the board with the governor of Texas, the editor of the film decided it would be a great place to place a picture of Cindy McCain with former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. I don't know what went on there, what was going on there, but all right, let's continue.
Just getting stock footage, man.
Right.
And her organization, the role of her organization is supposed to be to stop people like Jeffrey Epstein. They all knew. They did nothing about it. When Ricky Gervais said at the Golden Globes, you're all friends with Jeffrey Epstein, he wasn't lying.
So in the end, he obviously didn't kill himself, just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up. I know he's your friend, but I don't care. You had to make your own way here in your own plane, didn't you? Right, but...
And how many of those elites have been to his island? Not only is the mainstream media complicit I would argue that they're accessories in the crimes against children.
She told me everything. She had pictures, she had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything.
This is Amy Robach of ABC News. The first time ever Project Veritas actually did something journalistic and legitimate.
Right. This was maybe the first time they published anything that was like interesting.
Right.
It was like, oh wow, they got something.
Right, which was shocking to me. Congratulations, Project Veritas, for finally doing what your whole organization was apparently built on. Finally doing it about what? A decade into founding it? I mean,
right. Instead of being like, we found a CNN camera operator that thinks the company he works for is bullshit. And so, it's like, yeah, dude, those people are all over the world, man. Right. It's a job, man. You don't take jobs because they're fun. You take jobs because they pay.
Why won't Bernie Sanders
as
go on?
My dad used to say all the time growing up. That's why they call it a job.
Right. Why won't Bernie Sanders go on national TV and let the world know about his low-level Minnesotan volunteer who doesn't get paid, and that he once wrote on Twitter, "Communism is good," and disavow it?
Insane, man. That is what we should be talking about in presidential elections.
Right. Well, this Amy Robach thing, it still bothers me that someone decided to give it to them. Like,
yeah.
So, dumb move, actually.
Like you could have given that to any media reporter and they would have run it.
Right.
But instead they went to James O'Keefe.
And it got swept. I'm sure Amy Robach and ABC News, although I'm sure they weren't happy it got out, I'm sure they were thrilled when they found out who broke the story, because that shit is so easy to sweep under the rug. If it's Project Veritas.
I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed, because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago.
Then what happened in early 2018? Keith Raniere, who ran the NXIVM child sex trafficking cult, was arrested. Who else was arrested? Allison Mack. She's a famous celebrity who was on Smallville. She was also arrested for being a member of this cult that was involved in trafficking children. And not only trafficking children, they were running preschools down in Mexico. And
again, yes, the Anthony Raniere thing and NXIVM was a real thing. No, I don't think there's anyone out there who doesn't think that there is an issue where there is child sex trafficking and child pornography rings. We can all agree that these things exist. How does NXIVM fold into Pizzagate and John Podesta and the CIA and all this other stuff? It's just like, what? How did you get here?
Right.
Is another example of how these elite pedophile rings exist, because this was a massive organization. This was funded by really wealthy people, including the Seagram heiresses, Nancy Salzman and Claire Bronfman. So obviously they were using those preschools to traffic children. And the cult also engaged in human torture experiments on some of their members. And there actually was...
Zoe in the chat pointed out something, and I think I've written about this before, actually. The NXIVM group, to try to make sure any news about them was deemed fake news, they tried to start their own independent news organization called, like, the Knife of Aristotle or something like that. And the right wing loved this site. Tim Pool and Dave Rubin, Zoe points out specifically, would source that outlet, which turned out to be run by NXIVM in order to keep bad media off of them. I mean, You never hear these guys bring that up, though. Don't want to bother Mr. Rubin and Mr. Poole, right?
Civil lawsuit that was filed by 90 of their victims just the other day. So I imagine we are going to hear more about the human experiments, the torturing, the sexual abuse, and the child sex trafficking in this civil lawsuit. And a lot of the techniques that we see in this cult are very similar to the techniques that our government used in the Mkultra program.
You guys are branding women with Keith's initials? And they were like, well, what's the bad thing exactly about that? Everyone in the outside world, AKA the real world, is like, they're branding women? So I left. I went to the executive board and I said, I want my photos back. I want my videos back. The branding session was filmed. I want all of that back. I want my collateral back. None of that happened.
And it's the same fear, mind control, and you'll be destroyed if you get into the upper elites. And if you get to that point, if you start revealing anything, they have the same system to completely destroy you, destroy your career, blackmail you like Epstein, catch you, film you in compromising positions. And this goes both within Hollywood and celebrities and some of the elite, and it also goes on in Congress and the Senate. And if they even insinuate that they're going to reveal some of these things, they're done.
A lot of people here tonight felt like they lost. You know why? Because y'all been lied to.
They love Kanye. They love Kanye.
Kanye, man. Kanye said Trump's cool, so.
Facebook lied to you. Radio lied to you.
The powerful people that be, whether it's the music industry or the movie industry, you are only allowed a certain level of success if you are willing to join their club, if you're willing to be part of their secret society, or if you're compromised. They will not let someone obtain a lot of fame and power if they can't control you.
A classic example, at least for me, is Katy Perry. Katy Perry was a gospel singer, very talented, but she was going nowhere. And she got up to Hollywood, and basically they said, you want to be a success? You play by our rules. You step into the occult, and you start putting that in your videos. And now she's doing videos with her in hell, with satanic
Wait,
theme.
that's what happened is she was a gospel musician, singer, which there is no mainstream audience for in terms of
Right.
playing on national television, because obviously you want music for everyone, not just a certain section of people who are part of one particular religion. So they told her, she decided, or her record label, when I say they, the people involved with her career, they said, you should do pop music because that will get you famous. They did not say
Right.
you had to put satanic imagery in your music videos and then boom, bada, bing, you'll be all over the place.
Right.
She's what? Highly successful. You see that over with Lady Gaga, who came out and actually said she was so tired of being handled and manipulated, she had to take a break.
That this is this young, outrageous girl, wears strange clothes. She's into extremes. She's experimental. She have 43 million people on the Twitter following her, whatever she do, little monsters. And she came really very humble to my house and asked me if I can teach her. We made this workshop in the woods, and she was such a good student. She never cheated. She really went much farther than I asked her for.
She is a limitless human being. As myself, a self-proclaimed pop performance artist, want to go home and slit my wrists, and I am nothing. I have achieved no sense of art. She is so boundless.
Počuli za performance zbog Lady Gaga. Odjednom su počeli sinte su za moj rad.
Just so people know, this is Marina, what's her, Abramovic, something like that, she's famous,
Something like that, yeah.
She's a famous
Of course,
artist.
is in the Podesta emails, and she's the one that conducts the spirit cooking dinners. She said that Marina did an exercise with her where she stripped her completely naked and left her in the middle of the woods to fend for herself and find her way back. Those are the kinds of things that people who are behind the MKUltra programs do to children that they're mind controlling. We know
Lady
Marina
Gaga's
Abramovic
like
is a
26
Satanist.
years old, 27
You Google
years
Marina
old? What?
Abramovic's name
Oh,
in
I have
Spirit
no idea.
Cooking, and you will find hundreds of pictures of Marina Abramovic's events where they will have, for example, a cake that looks like a human being, and they'll depict human cannibalism, and they claim they're not engaging in cannibalism, and you will find A-list actors and famous politicians and other
It's
very
art.
famous and successful, powerful business people at her events.
It's
They
art.
literally
It pushes
have
the boundaries of
food
what's
that look
comfortable,
like
man.
human beings on dinner tables.
Like the whole point of this art style.
He's Italian and Greek. I mean, you know.
And really, like all
And a very good cook. And a
postmodern
very
art
good cook.
is just push the limit.
Right. It's just all about being, as it's like a countercultural thing.
Right. If you have any sort of like art historical context, like what the last couple decades of art has just been this very like meta modern culture.
Right.
It's like a whole wave in the art scene about like pushing the limits. That's why you get like a urinal spray painted in glitter.
Right.
And then it's meant to provoke the question, like, is this art? You just like, there's just been this huge push by a certain wave of artists to like explore where the boundaries are. And this is like more of that. It's very weird. It's very uncomfortable. But that's kind of the point. Like, as far as like the intention of the art goes, it's just to like fuck with people, kind of.
And the Gaga stuff they were showing wasn't even that. That was like nothing. That was like ridiculous.
Yeah, like shit like that happens with like fraternity hazing.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's boys being boys, Jared. That's not a high level Pizzagate brainwashing.
And I'm sure there's something very nefarious about that risotto recipe. So.
After I started researching the cult,
how did she
I
ever
learned
lose the
that
trust?
Satanists believe that they have to reveal who they are in some way, shape, or form. So that is why we see a lot of these occult members in Hollywood constantly flaunting symbolism. We see the pyramid, the Illuminati pyramid a lot. We see the evil one eye constantly. It's always on the cover of magazines.
Oh, are you kidding
we
me?
See
These are like just like the most basic of poses
It's
and
a
arts.
pose,
Yeah,
man.
it's like, come on. It's the same reason they go with. There's those things that show like there's like 10 different templates for like a movie poster, and every movie poster you see is one of these 10 templates because it works to get people to go see the movies. It draws people to it. I mean, that's simple. Michael Jackson perhaps a bad example. Let's move on. But
they're supposed to be the 666 devil symbols. We constantly see those symbols. We also see pedophile symbols, the swirl or the triangle within a triangle.
I guarantee this wasn't his first.
And we also see a lot of these members of the cult go on their social media and they talk about raping children. They talk about worshiping Satan.
They're knocking James Gunn for his tweets from like 2011. I mean, they were stupid tweets, but you couldn't be clearer what he was doing there. He was trying to do stupid, edgy, early 2000s jokes online that a lot of people who were trying to be edgy and funny did online in the early 2000s.
And people write it off as a joke, but they're not joking. I don't care if you're a major comedian. You can't tell me that's funny because they're...
Yes, you can, because they're comedians and that's what they do. You can think it's not funny, but they can tell you they think it is. I mean, that's...
No joke about raping children that's funny.
You don't know what that is.
I have no idea.
You don't know. Jimmy Fallon doesn't know. David Letterman doesn't know.
We don't know.
All the comics and show business don't know what this is.
takes guts to put out a film that does this, because no one's done it up until now. But when that's done and people see these facts and they say, my gosh, I didn't know that. I didn't know.
There have definitely been movies that, especially internet movies for sure, that have been internet distributed movies that have covered this stuff. This is nothing new.
Right.
I mean, we're not doing anything. Maybe the interesting part of this is the openly QAnon connection to it. That's why we're talking about it instead of just any other random conspiracy film. But this
and also the fact this thing has more than 8 million views.
Right.
Like, this thing is like a viral success to some degree.
Right.
That about the Gulf of Tonkin. I didn't know that about the Vietnam War. My gosh, and they go in, they check it out, and it's all true, and now they're seeing the dots. And a good film will teach them how to practice critical thinking, to analyze what you're watching. If we can get people to analyze what they're watching, we've crossed a huge hurdle, because once they start analyzing it, they're going to see the dots, and typically the dots will connect themselves.
Liz Crokin put herself so far out in front that she was mocked. She was laughed at. She was called crazy. Well, let me ask you a question. For all those people that did that to Liz, does she seem so crazy now?
When you
Yes.
put all of those facts together and you use critical thinking, you realize this stuff is real. There's not one smoking gun. There's many small smoking guns that you have to piece together, and you have to use critical thinking to understand.
Just this whole notion that, like, there is an ultimate truth here, but unless you sit down and try to connect a web of small facts together into this elaborate umbrella of a conspiracy, you actually don't know the truth. It's so ludicrous, dude. It's ridiculous.
It's, I mean, we already...
But I don't know. I'm an Occam's razor guy, man. Like, the simplest explanation is often, like, the most plausible.
Right. But, that wouldn't explain the logo of a pizza place being a slice of pizza, though, would it, Jared? I mean...
This stuff
Maybe
is
it's
real.
just pizza.
So again, the bigger question is, now that Jeffrey Epstein's been exposed and he's allegedly dead, how many
Allegedly dead. Hell yeah.
of his friends that were frequent visitors on his sex trafficking island were also involved in the rape, torture, and trafficking of children? And that's what Pizzagate is.
Have these guys ever seen a horror movie before? I mean, this is all where this stuff comes from. I mean, it's literally been like, geez. Do we have more here?
Man, they're gonna watch Saw.
They're gonna what?
We're almost done.
Oh, we're at the end?
They're gonna watch Saw and just get their mind torn to shreds, man.
Right. How were there 20 of these movies made and no one investigated the directors?
Just disconnect for a second. Stand back. Look at the lyrics of your songs. Look at the agendas of the movies. Look at the messages of the media that you're absorbing. Because it's impossible to say that all of it's bad. Like, all of Hollywood's bad. That's not true. Like, it's like saying all of the CIA is bad.
I mean, it's impossible to say that all of Hollywood's bad, because then I'd be incriminating myself, a member of the Hollywood industry, as a stuntman for very, very many years. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
There's a lot of good people
How
that
could
work
he stand that?
Also, my boys James Franco and Seth Rogen, they're good. Don't want to throw them under the bus.
both industries that aren't bad people. But if the people that control the narratives and the agendas are not good people, and they have different agendas, they can put that on you and you won't even notice it unless you stand back and look at things objectively.
I can't compromise anymore. That for me, that's not what life's about. I want to send a good message to my kids, and I want them to know that at the end of the day, their dad did what was right. And their dad fought for the good things in life.
And that included doing stunt work on Avatar 2 and Falcon and Winter Soldier, both coming to Disney in the next year or two.
He fought so hard against the people that
We're paying.
signed his paycheck.
Right.
If I could ever get the opportunity to make movies that send out good messages, and then people start realizing that they can be good and that they can jump on the bandwagon of good, that's the next phase. People start believing it. It's the same thing with desensitizing with the violence. People start believing that it's okay to kill somebody, or watching somebody die isn't a big deal. When people aren't helping other people in need on the streets, there's a problem in this world. But this could all be changed right now. The reason why I'm doing this documentary is because I want to be one of the first people to come out and say, hey, it doesn't have to be like this. We are good people. Humans are good, and we can make the world a better place. Because the money and the technology to make this world a better place is there. It's just been covered up and controlled for so long that it's time for it all to come out. And maybe I'm the catalyst for something better.
What does the media look like in the future? Well, to me, what I would hope is that it's not filtered. I would love to build a platform or build some sort of system.
Oh, he's selling his grift.
Where
Here we go.
Artists could connect directly to
and you go to
their
GoFundMe
audience.
and give me $1 million.
I want to make products.
Can't believe you
that tell
didn't salute the
stories
flag.
that bring humanity together, that bring
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
compassion,
I dropped
that
the
bring
ball.
love, that bring forgiveness, that bring inspiration and courage back to the audience without having the influence of violence or gratuitous sex or gratuitous death or gratuitous horror, because those are things and images that get stored in our psyche and our soul, and I don't think that's the way that this earth was intended to be.
It's a pretty bad ending, actually. Way to not
The
end.
truth is learned, never told.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. We did it.
We did it. Wow. 2 hours. Took us 2 hours and 2 hours and 50 minutes to do this. Not bad for a movie that's an hour and 17 minutes long. Jared, I hope you enjoyed watching this with all of us today. We had a large audience. Well,
it was the third time, man. This was my third time watching this. The first time, I actually meant to publish a piece on the movie a day before I did, but I fell asleep midway watching it. So this is my second time awake. First time.
I actually received a tweet about 27 minutes ago, from House of Fufu on Twitter. I'll be surprised if you make it through to the end. I found that the humor of its sheer lunacy wears thin after the first hour. Well, House of Fufu, in your face, Jared and I took 2 hours and 50 minutes to watch this, and we did it. We did it. And before I lose people on the stream, patreon.com/MattBinder. That's patreon.com/MattBinder. Become a patron subscriber. Support the show so we can do more of these interviews and all the other wonderful stuff I do on this show and online, elsewhere, all of it. Jared, quick, before we lose a single person out, this movie is over, get in a plug for yourself.
Follow me on Twitter, Jared L. Holt. I'm there. I write rightwingwatch.org. That's where most of my stuff is. And I've got a podcast. It's called Shitpost.
There we go. Jared, it's Saturday night. I'm sure you've got more things to do on your Saturday night than to just call it a wrap with this documentary. So thank you so much for joining me. Stay healthy with everything going on out there. As always, a pleasure, and looking forward to having you on again soon.
Oh, Matt, it is always a pleasure to come on Zoom. It's a great program you have here. So I'm just thankful to be on again.
Right, and we should end it with the truth is told, never... I don't even remember what the phrase was.
Never learn.
There you
the
go.
Truth is told, never learn.
There you go. I remembered more of it accurately than I thought I would have. Take care, Jared.
Take care.
Bloop, bloop. All right, folks. That is the show. I'm obviously not doing a patron-only half because I gave everyone almost 3-hour show now. Follow me on Twitter at MattBinder. Follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/MattBinder. Follow me on Instagram, MattBinder. TikTok, where I am Matthew Binder. What else? Facebook, search Matt Binder, and you can find my page and my profile. You could do both if you'd like. But most importantly, youtube.com/Matt Binder. Subscribe to my channel there. Also, doomedpod.com for the podcast version of the show. You could also get the show on iTunes, Google Play, and wherever else you listen to shows. Please leave an iTunes review or a review on whatever podcast platform you listen on. Always very great to have those. What else? Patreon.com/Matt Binder. One last time, I'm going to plug that. And before we give it a wrap, these are the people who subscribe to the Patreon and make this show possible. Literally could not do the show without them. If you can't afford to do so during these times, totally get it. What you could do to help this show is just spread the word. Tell your friends, share the podcast, share the videos, tell people to follow me on Twitter and YouTube. And also reach out and tell me who you want to see on the show, and reach out to your favorite YouTubers and podcasters and say you want to see me on their show. That's a huge help. If you can't financially support the show, it means the world just as much as the financial monetary support. That means just as much to me, because that'll help more eyes who can perhaps financially support the show learn about this show. So the people who are my patrons: Abigail T, Adam Q, Alan B, Amanda H, Andrew C, Andrew H, Angela RER, Baka, Ben, Benji, Bobby M, Brosnan, Champagne Kami, Chris F, Christine H, Cindy G, Colin R, Connor R, Cracker Barrel, CT, Cynthia J, D, Dan K, then Dank Uger, Dave K, David Z, Daya, Doug H, Douglas V, Dragon Slayer, Eugene B, Fraz K, Free Hat, FTW, Greywind, Greg D, Grimlock, Hitesh R, Igor D, Jack D, Jameson, Janelle A, Jasmine H, Jeremy M, JLS, John B, John S, Jonathan B, Joseph H, Joseph R, Joyce M, Justin S, Katie S, Kaushal, Lisa D, MC, Mariah, Mark S, Max W, User Me, Melissa M, Mitch V, Michael B, Michael J, Michael M, Mr. Danks, NS, Nicole A, Namdenet, Null Style, Odeth, Paul M, Penelope D, Qster, Rad Dad, Remy, Ryan, Scott R, Seth K, Sean H, Sheena, Silicon Baby, Stephen R, Stephen S, Steve A, TM, Tammy G, Terrence R, Hypervisor, This Is Not Pizza, Tina M, Todd K, Tom M, Why That Tie Guy, Utopian, and Zoe. I'm not going to be able to read all these people all the time soon because the list is getting long. So get in now while you can, in terms of the Patreon, if you can. Also, I'm going to start reaching out to people. I made a call out a couple episodes ago. I've been reaching out to people on Twitter, letting people know I want to hear from them on Twitter and on this show, and people who listen to the show regularly and people who follow me on Twitter have reached out. I want to get people on the show during this whole quarantine thing who I feel wouldn't normally, come on these podcasts and these shows. I don't have the biggest set of eyes to put on them in terms of viewers, but I do have, I would say, more than most. So I'd like to talk to you. Let me know what's going on, what you'd like to, if you're working on some sort of cool, leftist, progressive, whatever thing, you're running for the local office, you just want to jump on and talk to me about your coronavirus quarantine, experience. I'm going to be doing shows like that in the coming weeks. I've been basically taking all those tweets and messages and emails and compiling them, and I'm going to start contacting you all. So yeah, that's the show for tonight. Enjoy your evening, folks. See you all next time on Doomed. Dun dun dun. The truth is out there, folks. You never know where the next conspiracy theory will. All right, I'm not even. See you guys next time on Doomed.